Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 291st edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me on the call, we have Ozzy Smith, Andy Patterson, Donny Baseball, Dave the Hater Lowback, and a glorious return. Let's hear from him, K Weezy himself, Kurt K9 Ward. How are you, Kurt? Delighted to have you back. He's that delighted. He's muted himself, everybody. Trust me, he is there. You can see his little Evander Holyfield icon on the chat. We'll get Kurt in a minute. We'll come to you first, Andy. Obviously, there's only one place to start, isn't there? Over in Las Vegas, the big rematch. Seoul, Canelo Alvarez against Gennady Golovkin. 115, 113 on two of the cards. Pushed out Glenn Fellman's 114, 114 drawn card to give Canelo the win. He's managed to get one over on old Triple G. A few people are arguing about the scorecards. I thought Canelo looked a little bit looser and faster to me, to be honest. Don't worry about it. Let's knock his ass out. Those were the words of Abel Sanchez pretty early on. He was noticing early that the rounds seemed to be slipping. And after the seventh, Abel Sanchez says, "We're losing this, Gennady." That was the general impression that I got as well. He intended that to be out of earshot of the HBO cameras. Unfortunately, it wasn't. Sanchez wanted his man to throw lower to get the jab going. But he did a lot of good things, Golovkin, I thought, and fair play to him for the age of 36. He is on the slide. He is slightly over the hill, but he showed the mettle of a champion and the conditioning of a champion, Andy. I thought the way he came back in those later rounds, because I thought in the middle rounds he was really flagging, and I thought there was a chance, given Canelo's added body work, that Golovkin, we might see the beast slain. His chin and his conditioning remained till the end. Credit to him for pushing the fight so close.
Definitely. I've got to give Canelo a lot of credit. I've given him a lot of shit over the years, as people who've listened to this show for years. Over the years, I've always said he's been kind of fortunate on the cards. Lara, for example, the Trout fight. Obviously, the mental quit job against Mayweather, but he's came back well. And okay, I felt he clearly lost the first fight. Last night, I still had him losing the fight by a couple of points, but it was that type of fight where it was so close. Some of those rounds, you say Golovkin would maybe start the round pretty well, and then Canelo would just far looser, combination punches, working the body, working the head, looking for the hook and stuff. But then you would see Golovkin maybe kind of like land 4 or 5 jabs in rapid succession to maybe Canelo's one shot, for example. So it was really what we were really fancying. I think the cries of robbery are absolutely way out of the field here. And what it was, we had a close fight, a very, very good competitive fight, I should say. Actually, I was really happy as to how that fight went last night, especially the last 3 rounds. It's what we signed up for. As I say, I've got to give Canelo a lot of credit, because he did what he said he was going to do. He stepped in the pocket, he pushed the fight, he took centre of the ring, and he pushed Golovkin back. And I think he just made a deal with himself that he was willing to do what he had to do, stand in there and do what he had to do to try and win the fight. And okay, as I say, he lost the fight in my opinion, but he got the nod. What I will say is this: I'm disappointed in the fact, as we're discussing it off air as well there, but the judges, I think over 2 fights, 24 rounds, you've had 6 judges score those fights, and only 1 judge over those 2 fights have found themselves to give the fight to Golovkin. I think that's wrong. I think he's deserved a wee bit more respect than that. I think he should have kind of got a wee bit more nod off some of the other judges and stuff like that. But I can't kind of cry about it, because in the day as well, Golovkin was probably showing his age a little bit in the middle half of that fight. He was blown, as you say, but then to kind of rally back in the manner of what he did showed what he was all about. But especially in the 10th round and that, I really did think he had Canelo going and really going to push for the knockout, but just did they have it to kind of sustain the attack a little bit too much, So I in the end, as I says, it was a close fight. Was the winner correct? It's 50-50. I think we could have this fight probably again. We'll probably end up with another kind of similar scorecards, kind of close fight again. Maybe somebody else getting the decision this time. Who knows? But we're just going to say what it was, guys, and it was a really good competitive fight. And got to hold their hands up and just say, look, listen, it's no robbery. It was a close competitive fight, and that's all it was.
Well said, Andy. Big fights bring out big opinions and the big hitters. Rapping Rob Kelly, come to him shortly. Also, Adam Smido Smith is on. Delighted to have them all. But the Guru, pretty much the regular team of late, is all with us. I'm a great fan of the jab. Kurt, as regular listeners will know, I love a good jab. Triple G's jab, I thought, was a thing of beauty at times, the way it was just slamming home. It not just sets up attacks, but it also creates distance. It dictates range. It's a great defensive weapon as well. And Golovkin's defensive moves at times were better than I expected. He was able to make Canelo miss. That said, Kurt, Even though I didn't strictly score the fight, I tend not to bother scoring them now, especially when I've got the commentary on. I had HBO on for the main event. I don't score the fights in case I'm being pushed and pulled in either direction. I thought if anyone won, I'd give it to Canelo, to be honest. I thought he shaded it. I liked a lot of his work. How did you score it, Kurt?
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah.
Loud and clear.
I mean, I had it a draw, but I felt if anyone deserved the victory, it'd be Canelo. I mean, um, you talk about the jab, but when you got a fitted puncher, one of the most, biggest punchers in the sport, he's on the back foot from basically the opening bell all the way up to, I'd say, the championship rounds. He's getting backed up by a guy who's basically a cut middle. It's not a good look for the judges, is it? Let's be honest. Abel Sanchez, the trainer, and Abel Sanchez, as I call him, he spent the entire build up saying, don't run, don't do what you did in the first fight. You stand in the middle of that ring, you fight, and if that happens, you're going to get knocked out. Well, Canelo did exactly that. He stood in the center of the ring, like I said, for the first nine rounds, and he stood right in front of this feared puncher, and really, for the most part, was the one pushing Golovkin back, was the one he was fighting his fight. Golovkin didn't look comfortable at all. He didn't like the body shots. He was he was just reduced to, throwing like a few arm punches. He couldn't do what he wanted to do, and he couldn't get away with doing what he'd done against lesser opponents. I think Canelo portrayed like confidence during the whole fight. He was the guy who says basically, I can stand in front of this guy, I can push him back, and I'll do what I want. And I think you got to applaud Golovkin for the way he came back in the last 3 or 4 rounds to really show that he wanted to leave it all on the line. But I just think a combination of the age, the increasing better competition now, and just the body punches of Canelo really made him tentative. I know we all know he's got a great chin, he can walk for a lot, but he clearly didn't like. He clearly respected Canelo's power. He didn't just walk through him. He didn't just put his arms down and shake his head. He wasn't liking what Canelo was dishing out, and he was worried about making a mistake. And in the last 3 rounds, I'd say Abel Sanchez was telling him, you're behind. You need to go for it, and he did. And I think Canelo faded a little bit. Where in the first fight, I thought Canelo came on strong in the last couple of rounds, but this time it's Golovkin, and that's what got him the draw on my card. But I still think the whole fight, I think, if anyone did get it, just like I thought Golovkin deserved the first fight just about, I think Canelo deserved this one. I think a lot of people have got an agenda from the first fight, but if I can see why they don't like Canelo. Golovkin is the anti-Canelo, the guy who wants to fight anyone, anywhere. He doesn't pull all these shenanigans, pulling guys up in weight. He hasn't failed a drug test. But I think if you just take the fight on what it was yesterday, I don't think I see how anyone can say robbery. I think they're getting too caught up in their love of Golovkin and their hatred of Canelo. Because the fact is, a bit like the Ward Kovalev fight, I'm a big Kovalev fan, but I had no problem with Ward getting that nod, even though I was annoyed because you look at it and on a round by round basis, Canelo done a lot of good stuff in there last night. And he swept, I thought, the majority of the early rounds, the first half of the fight. I think all three judges had it exactly the same after the first 9 rounds. And, before the fight, everyone was saying these judges are good judges. Now they're saying they're paid off by Oscar De La Hoya. So I just, it's mad. The fact is, yeah, Golovkin probably did deserve the win in the first one, but I don't think he deserved it yesterday. And I think when Abel Sanchez is coming out saying he scored it a draw and he has no problem with the decision, I think every single Golovkin fan who's saying it's a robbery, needs to take that on board.
Kurt, people are going on about the judges and saying, oh, yeah, do you remember when this judge did this and this judge did that? How can they be the best? When you're judging 150 world championship fights or whatever, like these guys are, you're going to have the odd turkey in there, aren't you? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, everyone makes mistakes. Like I said, look, the real bad thing about the first fight was Adelaide Bird's score. We all know that. I think if the judges had gave it, 115, 113 Golovkin, 114, 114, I don't think anyone would have had too much of an issue. But that scorecard really riled everyone up. And then obviously with Canelo testing positive later, that, has made this into this all the drama. And everyone wanted, they wanted Golovkin to win. They wanted him for the fact is, you got to take that out of it. And, I've seen people like Dave Caldwell say, oh, I hate to say this, but I scored it for Canelo. Well, put all that aside and score the fight and what it was. The fact is, it was a close fight. I don't think either guy over 24 rounds, you know, dominated the other guy. I think they're both evenly kind of matched. But like I said, I think Golovkin's had a long career, amateurs and pros. He's not slipping punches like Pernell Whitaker. He's taking punches. They might not be knocking him out. They might not be hurting him. But when you're getting punched in the face in training camp after training camp and 12-round fights now that he's up to his competition, it's going to take its toll. And like I said, Canelo's the younger, fresher guy. He's a very accurate puncher, and he was digging to the body all night last night. And a lot of these fans, they don't seem to bother about body punches, you know. So, and that's just the way it is. And then Canelo, I felt deserved it, but I'd personally like to see a third fight. I don't think it'll happen. I think they'll go separate ways now. But I don't think Canelo, and I was a big critic of Canelo when he came up for like some of the fights he had, and the way he pulled guys up and knocked them out, and things like that. But I think you got to give him his respect now. You have to do it. He's done it there twice with Golovkin. The first fight, the result is nothing to do with him. And this time, he didn't run. I don't think he ran in the first fight, but he didn't move. He stood right there. Whether that, he came out from the first round looking to hurt Golovkin. I don't think he really did that, but he tried to do it, and I think he deserves a lot of credit, and Golovkin does as well for putting it on him at the end, despite he's getting on in years.
Plenty of back and forth in the chat. I think it just sums it up. A lot of people are saying Canelo definitely won. A lot of people are saying Triple G definitely won. I know one thing. If you're in the chat, go and hit the thumbs up. That's one thing we can all agree on. Paul Massingham was in touch on the Facebook page. He said, how the fuck did Canelo win that? I had that fight 9-3 for Triple G, says Paul Massingham. And that's being nice. Oh dear. You don't win fights throwing single shots. I can see Triple G retiring. He doesn't get the respect he deserves. So fucking angry watching that last night. At least Dick Turpin wore a mask. Donny, just before you get jumping in there, let me put a question to you, right, Donny? Because
wait, I just want to know, can we nickname him Adelaide Paul?
well, yeah, I'm going to mention Adelaide Bird actually, because Kurt mentioned the judges there, and I wondered before the fight, would the judges subconsciously be aware that nobody wanted to see another Adelaide Bird scorecard being put in? So I felt that the swing rounds, the close rounds, were absolutely key here, Donny. Would the judges keep the fighters within touching distance by spreading the swing rounds out? Don't pretend it doesn't happen. We all know it does. And as it happens, those fine margins just tilted it in Canelo's favour. Nobody wanted to put in an Adelaide Bird scorecard, Donny. What did you score?
Like Kurt, I also had it a draw. To me, I thought, as everyone was saying, in the middle rounds, I was thinking, wow, Golovkin really got old, and then he turned it on at the end, and basically, as was said, is kind of the inverse opposite of what happened in the first fight, where it was Canelo that came on in the end. But I have to wonder though, what the hell happened to GGG's body work? He is a very good body puncher. He has touched up a lot of good fighters to the body. He hit Macklin with a body shot that I think broke 2 of his ribs when he finished him. That's been a staple, I think, of his career, and it was almost like he forgot that he was a body puncher last night for some reason.
Did he though, or was Canelo too fast from the punch to the target, and that worried Triple G?
Well, yeah, he could have been worried about getting countered upstairs by a supremely skilled counterpuncher, and that also could have been a factor. But I felt like even in the first fight, he invested a little bit more in Canelo's body, and it was just non-existent last night. Like I said, I did have it a draw. I thought if anybody shaded it, it was Golovkin. So opposite of what Kurt thought, I guess. But I mean, that's fine. I mean, reasonable people can disagree about the outcome. I think that's the whole point. Is that you could have it either way, and nobody really has a right to complain about it. I mean, like you say, even Abel Sanchez himself, was admitted that it was a close fight, which also then begs the question of why Golovkin tried to storm out of the ring. That's like Miguel Cotto style tactics, and there's a reason why I hate Miguel Cotto. And
was there a scuffle, Donny? Was there a scuffle afterwards involving Triple G's brother or something? They didn't quite show it.
Oh, if that's true, I didn't know about that. I just saw him walking off, storming off to the dressing room, looking pretty pissed off.
Yeah, no, this was before the announcement. Sorry, I think it might have exacerbated Triple G's mood, possibly. I think his brother was fighting, possibly. Kurt, was he?
I don't know, but I thought Golovkin was having a Serena Williams moment. I thought he was going to call the judges thieves and say, "I'm a father. I'm a father. How dare you accuse me of this?"
As I saw it, Golovkin's brother was kind of cornered into the corner by the guys in the maroon jackets to kind of calm it down. I don't know what triggered it or what.
I wonder if he'd been pushing Smido to cause that, possibly.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe it was the announcement of the verdict, and maybe he felt like his brother got robbed and he threw a fit.
No, it was before that. It was
before the announcement. Yeah, he must have known. They all probably knew what the score was, didn't they? Like last time.
Yeah, maybe in a trilogy fight, you could have, Golovkin's brother against Cotter's brother on the undercard. I mean, pay-per-view, baby.
I don't want to jump ahead, Steve. I'm sure you might want to save this question for someone else, but I'm just going to say I'd love to see this fight again. I would like to see it soon. These are two guys who are clearly the two best guys in the division, and they're so evenly matched. It kind of reminds me, if you're a bit of a horse racing historian, as I'm sure Smido is, of the great Triple Crown races between Affirmed and Aladar, where each time it was the same guy, the same horse that won. It was Affirmed, and he won the Triple Crown that year. But every time he won, he always won by a nose against this other horse, who in any other year would have been a Triple Crown winner himself. And so, it was. The only thing is, though, is that I know that there are a lot of other guys out there that want to have their say too. You got Saunders, who actually I think with his boxing skills could pose big problems. You have Charlo, you have Andrade, you have Jacobs, who's still very much I think in his prime, and could make some noise there. He, some people thought he beat Triple G the first time, but there's just a lot. This is a hot division right now, and it's like I just want to see more fights happen quickly, and I want to see it happen soon, because there's so many unanswered questions, and especially with Golovkin's age, there's not a lot of time to answer them. But anyways, just in general, I thought it was a great fight. I could watch them. I watch those guys fight 3, 4, 5 times, just like the old days. I wish they'd, like Sugar Ray Robinson, I wish they'd do it again in 4 weeks. I thought it was excellent. And I don't think Golovkin's stock really drops very much, having lost the fight, because he clearly lost to one of the best, and and a lot of people would argue that he won. So excellent fight.
Yeah, his stock doesn't drop, his age does rise, unfortunately. I'm going to come to you, Hey, today very shortly on the whole commentary situation, HBO and what have you. Before we do that, we're going to go obviously talk about Lemieux, O'Sullivan later on, possible future opponents. I imagine Lemieux is going to be lined up for Canelo next. I think they'll keep Triple G waiting for the trilogy, might get him a little bit older still. I don't want to see Lemieux in against either of the main event protagonists, to be honest, but that's probably what they're going to do. Ozzie Smith questioning for Michael J. Lawler. He said, what a belter of a fight last night, but I have a question for the pod, specifically for you, Ozzy. Watching how Canelo fought over the last couple of fights against Triple G, do you think enhances Mayweather's legacy, as Canelo barely landed a glove on Floyd, or is it just a case of styles, different styles make different fights? What do you think, Ozzy?
A bit of both, really. Funnily enough, I was thinking of that this morning, that I think it just shows that how good Mayweather was, because, like I said, he took Canelo to school, and he's the only person in what's Canelo had now, something like 53 fights or something like that, 52 fights. He's the only person to do that. Golovkin, who I think again is probably one of the best fighters that I'll ever see in terms of while I'm alive, and I really like the guy, and the styles do make for a great fight, and they've shown that. I agree with pretty much everything that's been said. I don't see how it can be classed as a robbery when, like I said, you've got Golovkin's trainer saying he had it a draw. A lot of the cards you're seeing are just a point, 2 points. I had it to Golovkin by 2 points, but I'm not going to turn my nose up at 2 rounds the other way to Canelo. It was very, very close, and a difficult one to score at times as well. I think a lot of it was going off like opinion as well. In terms of a third fight, I wouldn't fancy Golovkin's chances, because, as Andy said, out of 6 judges, he's had 1 go his way, and it's kind of it's wrong that, because, like I said, he won the first fight and he got jobbed there. The second fight was a lot closer, but again, no one had it in his favour. For me, he's only getting older now. And I was impressed by Canelo. I thought, if you look at him from the first fight to the second fight, I thought his shape was completely different. He didn't look as big. He's definitely come down, in terms of like muscle mass and things like that. And I thought, here we go. He's not on the juice there. I think he may struggle, but far from it. I thought he was excellent. Like I said, I've criticised him before, but I thought he was a top class performance. And it probably does push him into that elite level bracket now. And you've got to say that he is the man of the division moving forward. I think that Lemieux fight was I think it was a final eliminator. So that's probably a fight we may see next. A bit disappointing, really, because I'd like to see the winner of Saunders and Andrade fight Canelo, both who I think could cause problems.
Hey, to Dave Loback, you're the official voice of American boxing, so let's talk to you about home box office. I believe that both Canelo and Golovkin's respective deals have expired with HBO. I expect them to, especially Canelo, what can he do now? Go to DAZN, ESPN, say, look, highest bidder, bid on my fights and get as much money. I don't think they'll be sticking with HBO. I could be wrong. There was a lot of criticism, Dave, for Max Kellerman last night, but I actually took issue with Jim Lampley personally. It just shows different people have different perspectives. I noticed the opposing sway of the announcing team. Lederman and Lampley seemed to be very heavy on Triple G. Lampley, I thought he was piss poor, to be honest. He was clinging desperately to the CompuBox numbers. Max Kellerman was also reticent about calling out the Lederman scorecard, even though him and Roy Jones seemed to be saying, look, you know what, Canelo's really in this fight. I thought Lampley was very, very heavily in favour of Golovkin. He'd been called out pre-fight by Kurt Ward for his biased reporting via one of Kurt's pre-fight gifs. And a minute in, he claimed Golovkin had got the better of the first minute by virtue of his jab, when I personally thought that Canelo's left hook and a little body shot gave him the early advantage. What do you think, Dave? Were you on the Kellerman-Roy Jones side? Were you on the Lederman-Lampley side? How did HBO boxing do for you last night?
I was on the Letterman-Lampley side. I thought Kellerman was AIDS, really pushing an agenda. I thought
the same about Lampley.
See, I thought it could have just been Kellerman's point of view. So if it is, then he's just being honest about what he thinks he's seeing, then that's fair. But if that's the case, I completely disagree. It seemed like we've seen this in fights in the past as well, where pre-fight expectations lead to what I consider to be an incorrect read on the fight. Same thing happened with Marquez versus Pacquiao 3. Going into that, a lot of people thought, well, Pacquiao's improved. They fought forever ago. He's probably going to win this convincingly. It was a very close fight. So everyone said, oh, Marquez was robbed. Marquez was robbed just because he was very competitive in the fight. But the fact is, I think most of us watching that fight back had it very close. And this was a very close fight as well. Golovkin not coming forward and pressure fighting and going to the body. Well, he should have worked the body for sure, absolutely. But not going forward and acting like the puncher like he did in the first fight. That doesn't mean you're losing the fight. And I completely disagreed with Kellerman's idea that just because Canelo was moving forward meant he was winning. He was missing quite a bit, even in the first 6 rounds. And those first 6 really went to Canelo from a lot of people's perspectives. I thought it was pretty even. I mean, Golovkin was landing more punches than Canelo, especially in the first 6. Mainly with the jab, he was dictating the pace. I thought he won the first round. Canelo was definitely in it as well, and he did some good things, made some good adjustments, especially from the first fight. The body work was significant by him, probably kept him in that fight. In fact, and Kellerman did say something that I agree with in terms of Canelo's winning the story of the fight. And he was, and it did appear that way for the first 6 rounds, because it seemed like his momentum was building, and Golovkin appeared to be tiring. He started looking old. He started looking nervous about the power. But while doing that, I believed he was landing more punches and still winning rounds. It reminded me of
Dave, sorry to interrupt you. You mean he was winning the story of the fight because he was setting the narrative. People were like, whoa, Canelo's standing there center ring fighting Triple G. We weren't expecting this. Whoa, Triple G is actually being pushed and backed up. This was the narrative created by Canelo. Therefore, he was pushing the story that way.
Yeah, well, that too, but also in terms of the momentum was going it appeared the momentum was going his way. It appeared he was hurting Golovkin more and was winning the battle of attrition. And as the second half of the fight told, I don't think that is actually what happened. So I was really quite surprised to see Golovkin rally back in the second half and hurt him and really dominate most of the late rounds. So that's why I had Golovkin winning. I didn't score it exactly. I just felt like he must have won because I thought the first 6 were pretty even and he won most of the second half of the fight. It was close though, and I just think Golovkin. It reminded me of the Andre Ward Kovalev rematch, where for the first 6, you can tell the momentum, the damage, the confidence here is going Ward's way. Because even though he's losing rounds, Kovalev fought well in that second fight. I mean, he won rounds. I thought I had him ahead at the time of the stoppage. He was piling up points with a jab. He was being more active. And I felt the same about what Golovkin did in the first half of the fight. Difference is Golovkin never got hurt, never got stopped. In fact, he summoned the will out of somewhere and actually kicked his ass in the 10th round. The 11th was close. The 12th I gave to Golovkin, though 2 judges pivotally gave it to Canelo, which I thought was a little suspect. I also thought it was a little suspect that Canelo did not get that second win he got in the first fight last night.
On the 12th, though, Dave, I thought that Golovkin started off strong and won the first 90 seconds, and then Canelo probably took over and had an argument to win the last 90, so it wasn't as egregious as it could have been.
It was a close round, but then right at the end, you had Golovkin land that nice uppercut that like shocked his head back. So I mean, that's what I basically considered the decider for that round.
Okay, fair enough. Don't forget, next week we have Joshua Povetkin. That's pretty much all there is, but there's a nice undercard as well, so we'll be coming on to that later. Also, Bellew of the Weeks, which will be featuring the one and only rapping Rob Kelly, coming to him soon on the Canelo Triple G Insight. Rob, you were nominated apparently for having a song called Canelo Alvarez. More on that later on. Smido, let's go to you. I'm a corner work.
Shut that shit up, Steve.
I was waiting for you to say that.
Soft that shit. Shut that shit up.
You've been having a rough week this week, Rob, haven't you? You got called out by someone on Twitter as well for being, what, you been boring or something?
No. He said I have a preoccupation with black thugs. Even though we only speak about fighters, and I'm a big detractor of AJ, Sean Porter, and I criticize whoever, but he can shut that shit up as well with his Twitter hunting casuals. Oh, I'm hunting casuals. You're hunting them, are you? I'll tell you something. What you do with your hunting casuals page, we do with a fart, right? We get more views on his podcast. Fuck that guy. Sorry.
We talk, he types.
Simple as that.
Smido, carrots.
Like I was saying, Smido, I'm a corner work nerd. I like listening to the respective instructions. I mentioned Abel Sanchez earlier. Also, I thought the Reynosos did a neat job. I didn't realise until the corner after about round 9 just how bad Canelo's cut was. It was a real deep, nasty gash on the left-hand side. And also, even though the commentary team mentioned it, Smido, and Dave the Hater Lowback mentioned it about Canelo being hurt in the 10th round. I don't think he was hurt in the 10th round. I think he was slightly shaken, disorganised possibly. I don't think either man were hurt in this fight. Both were tired. Triple G more so. I don't think they were hurt. Do you disagree with me, Smido? 10th round, was Canelo maybe a bit dusted?
Well, I've not watched the replay. I don't tend to do that, so I'm going in a little bit rawer than others. But I don't think he was necessarily hurt, Steve. I think at that stage in the fight, we was looking for people to get hurt. If you see what I mean, we'd gone through the first fight with anyone being really rocked, and we'd gone 9.5 rounds through the second fight in the same scenario. So I think by that stage, when something significant did land, we was looking for it to be pivotal. But I think on reflection, as you say, he possibly wasn't hurt on the cold hard facts. But I tended not to score it. I went round to my mates to watch it. It's the first time I've got up to watch a fight in the night for a very long time. Really enjoyed it. Thought it was technically great from all of them. I went up from both of them. I went into the fight wanting Golovkin to win, and I was wanting him to win more than the first fight, even though I've always been a fan of his. I got clouded by Canelo's shithousery with the drugs, pretty much, and I'm not ashamed to say that. I wanted Canelo to get absolutely flattened, given the way that he's treated the fight and the sport in the last year or so. But to be honest, when I was watching it, that was kind of soon forgotten. Canelo was back to his old ways, and I've always been an admirer of Canelo. Really, not a fanboy by any stretch, but definitely become more of a fan over the years. I tend not to score him, Steve, like you, but I was with my mate and we was discussing it just at the end of each round, as you do. And after 4 rounds, we had it kind of two apiece.
Was it Dale Nichols, Smith?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was Jamie Davis, who actually has made a very small cameo on the pod once before. It's the guy I went to New York to watch Golovkin with. So
as long as it's not Harry and Callum.
No, it wasn't Harry and Callum, fortunately. So yeah, after 4 rounds, I had it all square. And then the 5th, I remember being very close. And then after that, I kind of didn't score it. I don't like scoring draws, and I wasn't kind of tuned in enough to score the 5th. So I kind of just forgot it from there and enjoyed it. But when the result came out, we was following the betting in play as well, and Canelo at the end of the fight was twice the price he was at the start of the fight. So that should be noted, that he definitely wasn't expected to win when the final bell had sounded. At the end of the fight, I felt gutted for Golovkin, to be honest. I know we've been over it before, but he's old, and he's older than he was. Sorry, and he's come through with all these knockout wins, but he really hasn't probably gained the respect or moreover the payday.
Did you get a feeling, Smid, like it's just not going to happen for him?
Yeah, I did.
Looking at his face in the corner, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I did. I felt for him, but the second half of the fight, I could watch that. I could happily watch that over and over again. Particularly the 4 rounds, 8, 9. 8, 9, 10, 11 was a big swing for me. Went one way to Canelo. At the end of the 9th, I said to my mate, "This is Canelo's fight to win." But then proving me wrong straight away, Golovkin comes out. I think he landed a big left hook in the 11th. Big left hook in the 10th, which was the most significant punch in that round. And then in the 11th, he landed that right hand, which we've already discussed. So fair play to both of them. Really, they've had to come back from adversity. But at the end of the fight, it was a bit of a wow moment for me. I did expect Golovkin to get the nod, and I still wanted him to get the nod in my heart of hearts. But I've kind of woke up this morning, and on reflection, given I had it 2-2 after 4, I think personally some of the later rounds were quite easy to score for Golovkin, particularly 8 and 9, and then probably the 12th. So even on my scorecard, he's already got 5 in the bag there. So we're already in the realms of it not being controversial, if you like. If I've already given 5 rounds and I've not watched it, intently or with a fine tooth comb. So I think, talk of robbery, etc. is definitely over the top. It was just more of as a Golovkin fan, just a disappointment that he'd not done it. And my appetite to see a third fight's not really there, Steve. To be honest, he's going to be another year older, and I think that as Canelo continues to grow into the weight, particularly, let's assume that this is the first time he's been a clean fighter, particularly at middleweight. He's going to trust in his gas tank more next time, whoever that may be against, particularly Golovkin. And I think it would be, a clearer Canelo win next time, to be honest.
Well said, Smido. Coming to you on the undercard very shortly. Shout out to Chad Canner in the chat. I love the phenomenon of hearing what you want to hear. And Chad is accusing us of being fanboys. Such has been the wide range of opinion and argument expressed so far this evening. I don't even know who he's accusing us of being fanboys towards, to be honest. But thanks for listening anyway, Chad. Right, Rob, shut that soft-ass shit up. We want your opinion on this main event. Simon Alavi's jumped in with a question. I think we know where his loyalties lie. He says, can you think, Rob, of another boxer of Canelo's profile that has had so many close decisions in his favour? They even tried to give him the Floyd fight, says Simon.
Yeah, he always seems to have that one outrageous card on his score on his cards. I think there was one against Lara. There was one against Floyd. Obviously, that was outrageous. There was one in the last one where that was really the focal point. It was such a bad scorecard. It wasn't that they necessarily, you could make some kind of an argument for him to win. Or maybe not in the last fight. You're looking at a 7-5 loss no matter what way. But it was just outrageous to how one side, 118, 110, I think the card was in the last one, which was a joke, from Adelaide. But, he's a money guy. The money guys get the benefit of the decision a lot of the time. I don't think that's what happened last night, though.
What happened last night then, Rob?
Sorry, no. I think in terms of last night, I think I said the day after the fight last year that in the rematch, Canelo wins the rematch. And I said last week, if he holds the center of the ring, I thought they'd give it to him even if he won 5 rounds. But after scoring it myself, I looked at it last night. I fell asleep just before the main event last night and woke up at 6:30, threw the fight straight on. And all I could see was Canelo winning the fight from the center of the ring. I noticed that he nailed his right hand to his jaw as well last night. He was looking for he was wary of the Golovkin left hook, and his hands were a lot. And I thought, like, just in terms of like scoring a fight, effective aggression, ring generalship, clean punches landed, I think he was doing the most. Like, so obviously Golovkin took over in the second half of the fight, somewhat out of desperation. I think I think Sanchez was a little bit questionable last night. I think it took him a little bit longer to spot what was going down. Like, I think that was pretty obvious in the first 6 rounds that Canelo was having his way. Like, and I think Sanchez was giving the wrong instructions to Golovkin. And he was kind of comfortable with his inactivity. He wasn't telling him to put punches together till around the 7th, 8th round. Like, you know, he was looking for a follow up for the jab. So I think Canelo deserves a lot of credit for that performance last night, even though it's somewhat tarnished, because who's to say that he wasn't getting the benefit of whatever he's been on, even though he's had the drug testing for this camp. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know how long those things stick with you, but that's kind of all conjecture at this point. Like, he's been exonerated, the fight's gone on, and to me, he's won the fight by a point, maybe 2 points, depending on how he scores some of the swing rounds. So I have no problem with the decision from last night. And I think we had, even though it pains me to say it, that I wanted Golovkin to win because, you know, I was having my suspicions over the legitimacy of Canelo's innocence, and I wanted Golovkin to win for the sport. But
has Canelo been exonerated, really? Like, I mean,
well, he has officially. He's been
okay.
exonerated because he's gone to a VADA accredited testing center, and they've done the hair follicle exam and said that if he was on the clenbuterol, then there would definitely be trace amounts in his hair, and there hasn't been. Whether that's the case or not, who knows? Like, I don't know, but I don't know enough about VADA to say one way or another. But for the record books, at least, he's been exonerated. And I think Golovkin didn't just get old overnight. He might have got old overnight against Danny Jacobs. And I don't think we can take anything away from him based on that loss. But last night, I think the story of the fight was banged on about from Max Kellerman a lot last night. That seems to be his new favourite one since he's been using it in Ward Kovalev too. I think, you know, Canelo was the pretty much the clear winner. Like, tight fight, but I think Canelo done enough in the rounds that he won. As well as that, he boxed lovely. Like, Golovkin, even though he made changes last night and he boxed on the back foot, which I don't think suited him at all. He didn't look half as comfortable on the back foot, even though his boxing skills have been blown up over the years and bigged up over the years. He's supposed to be a very good technical boxer, especially in his amateur days on the back foot. But he didn't look comfortable on the back foot last night. He looked tentative again. All right, he was banging the jab, but the jab wasn't even having that much of an effect on Canelo. And Canelo was having the last say in a lot of the exchanges, which is eye-catching for the judges as well, especially in tight rounds. So Golovkin did land big hooks, big uppercuts, but Canelo was always firing back. I think in the 10th round was the first time I didn't see Canelo fire back. And the 11th round was the first time his back basically touched the ropes in the whole fight. So he was the aggressor. He was controlling the ring generalship for a lot of it. And he was landing with a lot of clean punches of his own. So
did you think, like me, Rob? Did you think when his back touched the ropes? Did you think, oh, here we go, now his back's going to start touching the ropes? Triple G's going to start getting him, but he didn't do it again after that.
No, because I knew the result when I was watching the fight. But no. Golovkin's approach and the fact that he didn't adjust really, like, and I think it tells a tale a little bit about his entire career. Through no fault of his own, the opponents haven't been at their best, like, or haven't been the best quality, rather best caliber, and he hasn't had to make adjustments in fights at all, really. Maybe in the Brook fight, he just went out really and just banged it out of him after getting caught a couple of times. So I think he's been on the slide. I think it might be time for Golovkin to hang him up now, to be honest with you. If he can't get this, like, really, you know what I mean?
Rob,
one of these characters.
Rob, tell me about David Lemieux. I expect him to be next. Tell me about a possible Lemieux-Canelo fight, a segueing out of Lemieux's knockout over Iman Spike.
Yeah, Spike, unfortunate for Spike. Spike didn't really, I suppose he'd be mad at himself. Look, you could argue, say, not cold, but I think he was a bit overawed last night by Lemieux's strength when he touched him, because he barely threw a punch in the 2.5 minutes that he was there, and when he did, he left himself exposed, got clipped with a left hook. And we always see kind of Lemieux, after a bad loss, come back with a stunning knockout that puts him back on the radar again. And there he is, like him or love him, he's back on the radar, or like him or hate him rather, he's back on the radar again for a shot at Canelo. I think that's a easily winnable fight for Canelo, especially if he displays the boxing skills that he has in the last 2 fights. I would make a point about the Floyd loss as well. I don't think you can take too much from that. He's a kid. He's very much drained at the weight, fighting one of the greatest fighters of all time early in his career. I think his resume since the Canelo fight, bar that blip when he relinquished the WBC title and went on the kind of Liam Smith route, is very, very good. But he made that adjustment to becoming a kind of a boxer after the Floyd fight, which is kind of interesting. So I think even like Canelo's corner might have got the better of it as well last night. They deserve a bit of credit because, like I said, his right hand was very high. He fought a different fight, and they were telling him, they were saying, "Look, he's spent now. You know what I mean? You know, he's got nothing left. He's shot his load or whatever. Like, go out and do it." So Golovkin wins the second half of the fight, but maybe left it too late. Especially, I think.
Still there, Rob? I think we just about lost Rob. I know he's off walking his dog and stuff. We'll try and get him back on as soon as we can. A few quick fire points for the guys on the panel just before we go off the main event. First to you, Andy, regarding Triple G's legacy. Rob mentioned that he should possibly hang them up now. As relevant as the consistent middleweight title reign, the reign of defences are, there's been a lot of duds and, alphabet titles and what have you. Triple G's legacy was on the line, Andy, as far as I'm concerned, last night. And the fact he's lost to Alvarez doesn't bode well in the conversation, putting him against the likes of your Haglers, your Monzons, your Hopkins, all these type of boys.
You could argue that. You could also say as well as, he was chapping at the door. He has been ducked. Remember Martinez, Chavez, all these type of guys and stuff like that. Yep, Cotto ducked him. They're all wanting catch weights, that type of thing. And okay, I dare say you could also point to the factors that maybe Golovkin might have ducked Ward, but that's something the Golovkin fans wouldn't really like to say. But if you're going to look at it, I mean, I would break down his top wins, or I won't say like his top opponents, but his top wins were probably like Macklin for the stoppage. Curtis Stevens, he was kind of feared coming in, big banger. Murray, I suppose, was brave enough, hanging for as long as what he did. He didn't really kind of offer much by way of kind of like an attack. Lemieux, Kurt's on the pod, he'll be able to tell as well. Me and him took a lot of shit because we weren't impressed with that performance because we did expect him to kind of come out and just kind of lay waste to Lemieux. And if we're going to kind of maybe mention that actually about the Spike fight, Spike invited him in for that left hook because I think he overreached with his jab, which he then kind of brought down his right hand at the same time as he overreached with it and got caught on the counter. But where he sits in the pantheons, for example, I don't know. I would probably need to say, I mean, middleweight division's been so talent rich that over the decades and that. So I'm not going to say I'm going to put him in top 10. I would probably need to say definitely top 20 of all time. But top 10 is going to be a better push considering how depth that division is. I mean, you're going back to the 1800s with that division. So
yeah, I would say the outskirts of top 10. I'm no expert in these areas though. Ozzy, I'm not sure what feed you listened to it on. We talked about HBO earlier. Excuse me. The undercard obviously had I don't know. Hang on, the undercard version I watched was a Golden Boy stream, I think. If you watched Box Nation, Ozzy, which I'm assuming that you did, people were giving John Rawling and Barry Jones a bit of grief. Any insight into what they were coming off with?
Yeah, it was. I've seen a few comments.
BT, sorry, Ozzy, not Box Nation.
BT, yeah. Seen a few comments saying a lot of them were having a bad night, and it seemed like they had a bit of an agenda to push Golovkin. And I've noticed this, to be honest, since when it was Box Nation, all fights would be called as they were. There was no agenda to push, nothing. And I think that's what everybody liked about it. But now, particularly since they've moved to BT, it seems like there's more of an agenda and they're going to favour the home fighter. And I don't think anybody wants that. And I don't think anybody learns well from it either. Last night was similar, the same. But then, to the contrary, I've seen other people just in the chat now as well saying that they agreed with everything that John Rawlings said all night. So, again, it depends what you think. Yeah, I've got to admit, I had the commentary on low because I think these days, if you do listen to a commentary, you can be easily swayed. Because like I said, when there is an agenda there, despite anything the opponent could be doing, it's kind of swept under a carpet because they want the home fighter to be the one, to they praise all the work they do. But yeah, last night I didn't listen to much of the commentary. But Yeah, it wasn't great. From the bits I did hear on, it was just a bit odd. And you think, what are you watching? I mean, you're ringside there. What are you watching? Particularly Rawlins. I think at one point he said Deontay Wilder was a southpaw as well. So
He said that before. He seems to have that in his head.
Yeah, he said that during the Tyson Fury Pianetta fight.
yeah, so it is an odd one. Yeah, I don't really know, to be honest. So yeah, it was an odd one. But one thing it does need to be done. These commentaries need to be nipped in the bud straight away. No one benefits from biased commentary, but it seems to be the norm in boxing these days.
Kurt, coming to you very shortly on the undercard. I'll give you the pick of the undercard. Before we do so, Richard Swig was in touch. He said, as much as I dislike Canelo, it seemed like the scorecards were reasonable for me. The marks against Canelo for inventing Canelo weight and for avoiding Triple G for many years by dumping the belt and for being a drug cheat are still valid and always will be valid, says Richard Swig. Hey to Dave Lowback. Tell me about possible Triple G, not so much Triple G, but probably Canelo opponents going forward. Do you agree with me? Hey to Dave, I've often espoused the view that I thought that the middleweight Charlo would beat Golovkin. I thought that before, and I think that now. Am I completely off the radar here, Dave?
I mean, you're potentially correct. I just don't know what you've seen from middleweight Charlo to warrant that much faith in him. I mean, he's been good. He might prove to be that, but he needs some middleweight wins. I mean, come on, put him in there with Jacobs. Put him in there with Lemieux. Put him in there with someone at least top 10 and see how he gets on.
Next for Canelo, Dave?
Next for Canelo, I want Triple G probably. That's probably the best fight that can be made right now. Canelo Lemieux is shit. Canelo would absolutely destroy him, similar to how Golovkin destroyed him, but maybe even faster. Curtis Stevens, forget that. No. We got a good fight next month, potentially a good fight. I mean, potentially not a good fight, but a good matchup between Andrade and Billy Joe. Canelo can have the winner of them. That's a tough fight for Golovkin or Canelo, especially I think if it's Andrade. It depends how good he is. He appeared to have regressed against Kulkai, but when he was on form, he was really good. I always thought that he was the man to beat Golovkin if he actually got his career together, but who knows?
Never bloody fights, does he? I don't know.
No,
he is
yeah.
next month, like, but
yeah, I'm talking way back when he was maybe even at 154. He was rangy, he was smart, great stamina. But now, who knows? We'll see next month, hopefully, to see who's got the little last gasp of a shot at the big time between Billy Joe and Andrade. Who else is at middleweight?
Jacobs, Derevchenko, Charlo.
Oh, yeah, Jacobs, right. Yeah, that's
Saunders, Andrade, yeah.
See, I thought Jacobs did beat Golovkin in that fight, even though it was very close. I wouldn't mind seeing him against Canelo, but I do want to see that rematch. I mean, as long as they don't make us wait another goddamn year. If they could get that rematch done by December, which I know they won't, it'll be at least Cinco de Mayo or some shit. But if they could get it done by December, that'd be great. Get this thing rolling here. Why can't they fight in the next couple of months? I mean, they took a bruising, but they'll heal. Come on, just get the goddamn fight made.
Doesn't work that way, does it? If it happens, it'll be like in May or whatever around a particular
Yes,
day.
if it doesn't happen by Cinco de Mayo, then fuck it. I don't want to see it again. I don't want to wait another goddamn year for this. The drama is so played out and tiresome. I'll just have to be satisfied with knowing that, well, in my opinion, that Golovkin won twice. Middleweight, and it's a little boring right now for me until things. I mean, aside from last night's great fight, it's a little boring because there's not many names really there, and we have to wait until some guys make themselves known at the head of the pack.
There's loads of names at middleweight, Dave. Man, you're a hard man to please.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about Canelo Jacobs or Canelo, like you said,
Saunders
Saunders versus Andrade. Charlo, I mean...
Yeah, Saunders versus Andrade, but those two, I'm barely active, both of them. Both are hot and cold fighters.
That's the fight we should be seeing next, though, in my opinion. The rematch, I don't think will happen, so it's a case of we should be seeing him against the winner of either Jacobs and Derevyanchenko or Saunders and Andrade. There's nobody
Why
else.
don't you think the rematch will happen, though? They both said they would do it.
Yeah, but the thing is, he fights twice a year, doesn't he? And Canelo, and I think
Not this year.
Well, yeah, not this year, for obvious reasons.
They always say that Aussie in the post-fight interview. He's not going to turn around and go, "No, I'm going to take a year out."
But
Need
there's
to spend some time with my family and all this bullshit.
There's things like that Golovkin will want now. Clearly, the scoring will be a concern to him. And as every day goes by, I think it's going to get harder for him. You don't age up, but you certainly do age. And I wonder if he's got another fight. I wonder if he has got another fight like he had last night.
I agree.
I genuinely wonder that.
No, I don't disagree with that. Yeah, I mean, he aged. They waited for a reason, and it paid off.
Yeah.
And Canelo just won 3 belts last night, and all the sanctioning bodies now are going to be practically like wanking themselves off, to be shoving those mandatories at us against people who I'm sure are undeserving, and he'll be like, "Well, I want to keep the belts or whatever." I mean, he's going to milk this for a while. Then again, the rematch with Golovkin might be worth so much money that they still might take that. But I think some of these names that you want to see Canelo fight in the next 2 years, I think that unless they get a mandatory position, it might be kind of like a Klitschko situation where he's going to just fight the mandatories because he has so many belts now that the mandatories are going to keep him busy doing those. You know what I mean?
I think we'll see Lemieux next. I think that's
fucking awful. That's such a shit fight.
We'll definitely see that next, Aussie. Definitely.
100%. It's the same promotional company. He's just won a final eliminator. There is no reason to stop this from happening. We don't want to see it, but in terms of the fight happening, it ticks a box. They'll box it off as a mandatory for a start, and it's an in-house fight for Golden Boy. That's the fight.
Yeah. The WBA ain't going to be pressuring him anyway, Aussie. They've got Murata sitting on a title. Haven't they just sanctioned 2 other people to fight in an eliminator or something for an interim belt? They're an absolute mess.
Oh well, we waste enough time and energy speaking.
Yeah.
Well, no, there's another name though. That's another name you just mentioned. Then Murata. So there's a lot of names there that we can see the fights happening. But sadly, the fight we will see next, I've no doubt, will be David Lemieux.
I think so. I'm going to bring in Kurt to talk about Lemieux. I know I've been saying that for a while. Kurt, I'm going to read out Toby Hines first of all. He's left us a little essay. I want to get this finished and try and draw a line under the Alvarez. Who was he fighting again? Triple G fight. Toby Hines said, "Thought for the pod, I have 2 asterisks for this, but anyone can look like King Kong going through the lower levels, but I always say, let's see how they do at a higher level. It is like me going to a school playground and beating 10 bells out of a bunch of kids. Does not make me tough. It's about who you do it against. Triple G is obviously very good, as he then did it at the middle and the higher levels, but, and here we go, will he be defined that once he took on an elite talent or true world level in Canelo, he did not look anywhere near as lethal? Power was not so deadly and paralysing, so perhaps he was just much more superior than a poor bunch of middleweights in a poor era for the division. The 2 asterisks," says Toby Hines, "are that Canelo may have assistance even now." Yeah, well, I thought that. I don't know much about drugs, but maybe it's still floating in his system. But anyway, or he's reaping the benefits. So Toby continues. Sorry, Toby. The other thing is that Triple G is old, and maybe we never got to see what he could do in his prime, and no one worthy enough would actually fight him, although he could have taken a step up to face Ward. Oh, and I say this as a Triple G fan and hater of that ginger cheating tosser, Canelo. A lot of truth there for what Toby Hines is saying. Dave, the hater Lowback, agrees with that. Kurt, you can comment on that if you want. If not, go on to the undercard. David Lemieux, Gary Spike O'Sullivan, Jaime Munguia getting a facile knockout over the overmatched Brandon Cook, who finally got a payday, and also a bloated, faded version of Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez knocking over Moises Fuentes. The floor's yours, Kurt. Choose what you want.
No, I think Golovkin never got the fights when he was at his best. I mean, he didn't fight Cotto, he didn't fight Martinez, but who on here would have picked either of those guys to beat Golovkin? I certainly wouldn't have. I think Golovkin would have knocked both of them out, to be honest. He never got to fight him though, so his legacy will always be he was the guy he couldn't get the big fights, and when he did, he lost to Canelo. You know, that's a fact. But I think if those guys had fought him, he would have been the guy at middleweight and until losing to Canelo. And I agree with what I said. Lemieux will be next, 100%. There's no need for Canelo to fight anyone else. Yeah, I think he would take a third fight with Golovkin, but I don't think they'll take it because his demands are just going to be crazy now. It's going to be like, I beat you now. I thought I beat you the first time. I definitely beat you the second time. I'm the money man. I'm, the big star. I've got all the bouts. If you want to fight me, you've got to take this percentage. They're not going to take it. Lemieux will take whatever he's offered. Lemieux is, in my opinion, he's average. They elevated him when he fought Golovkin because Golovkin's resume he's pretty poor, to be honest. But that me and Andy got trashed for criticising. Lemieux, we saw him against Saunders. Anyone with any boxing talent will make him look like a club fighter. People forget about his losses to Rubio and Alcine. Because he knocks a guy out who stands in front of him, just like he did last night. I mean, it was obvious Spike was going to be right in front of him. He's too small. He's just not good enough. If you stand in front of Lemieux, you're going to get hurt. Doesn't matter who you are, and that's the way it is. So Lemieux will be next. It'll be a bit like the Kirkland fight. He'll rush out, looking to put it on Canelo, and Canelo will score a devastating knockout. And for Mexican fans, it'll be great. And hopefully, if that does happen next, which I think it will, it'll be quick. It won't be like next May. It'll be December, January, and then in May there'll be a biggish fight, which has to be Saunders or Danny Jacobs, in my opinion. Who I think that them two will win their fights, so it has to be one of them.
Kurt, quick word on Munguia. He's massive for light middle, so you can imagine him going up to middleweight and throwing himself into the mix soon.
Yeah, and he's young as well, and he's improving every fight. I mean, he's huge. He's going to be one to watch. I think he can be outboxed, but it's going to be hard for those guys at that weight because he's so big. And like I said, his youth, how good can he be? He has to keep fighting. We don't want to see him like once or twice a year. He has to
5 times this year he's fought.
Yeah, he has to keep. I don't expect it to be 5 times again, but he has to be regularly. And he's a fun fighter to watch. He'll score, a lot of knockouts against lesser opposition. And he's one who has to be progressed well. And I think he'll be in big fights. And then we'll see, how good he is really.
Kurt Ward's on the call, everybody. You're listening to the 291st edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. That's Kurt. We've got Ozzy, we've got Rob Kelly, we've got Andy Patterson coming to you shortly, Andy. We've got Donny, we've got Dave the Hater Lowback, we've got Adam Smith. Smido, tell me about Lemieux against Spike O'Sullivan. I noticed, I clocked it, Spike's face instantly started reddening in that fight, and I clocked a look on his face, Smido, very early on that said to me, I'm not sure what it said, but it was something along the lines of, whoa, he's actually pretty good, this guy. Or, this guy hits pretty hard. There was like a look of realisation on Spike's face. Not sure if you saw that at all, Smido.
Yeah, in the while it lasted, it didn't last for long, obviously, but I just think that the size difference on the night, I know it's been spoke about and widely publicised, but the size difference on the night has just seen him off. He's left himself wide open. I mean, this is one of the only things David Lemieux has got going for him is punch power. And what you don't do is leave yourself wide open like Spike O'Sullivan did. I mean, it was just obvious what was going to happen from quite early doors, as you allude to, Steve. The only disappointment was for me, I think you couldn't get nearly even money the Lemieux KO, and I left it alone. And I think quite a few others got involved on that, and obviously it turned out to be a good idea for those that did. But Spike O'Sullivan, to me, I mean, I was looking at his resume a bit last night. Obviously, fights in America more often than he doesn't, but he's been battered by Billy Joe Saunders over 12 rounds and then beat up by Eubank. That's kind of what sits in people like my mind. And then since then, he's been waiting in America to be Golovkin or Canelo's, particularly Canelo's opponent, if they can't pull a big fight off. Well, that's gone up in smoke now anyway. I mean, he gives a lot of talk, obviously, and he did again this week with his ridiculous moustache. But yeah, he's just been found out badly in what was kamikaze tactics and punch selection, to be honest.
Well, hey, to Dave, a lot of people were mentioning the build-up. Obviously, Smido mentioned Spike's opposition there. People were saying, mention Lemieux's deficiencies really as being an advantageous to Spike. You know, the fact that he's outboxed by people, he struggles with movement, he struggles with footwork, he struggles with the jab. But Lemieux has lost against generally the better fighters, you know, in world boxing. And Spike, whenever he stepped up against Billy Joe Saunders, comprehensively outboxed Chris Eubank Jr., whose level isn't as high as many people, myself included, turned out to be. You know, he's not that good. So there was nothing to suggest that Spike would be able to put on that kind of boxing performance against Lemieux that the better guys like your Triple G's had done in the past. What do you think, Hater Dave?
I mean, he's a European bum. I called him a British bum last night, but some people said, you know, the Irish, they don't like to be called British. But
Dave Lee disowned him though after that performance.
Dave Lee came in and said, no, he's British. Yeah, I mean, who cares? It's a pointless fight, really. Spike's not good, really. He's a British bum, and I fully expected the outcome. He did land a good jab that knocked Lemieux off balance at the right before the knockout, though. So that's his. That'll be his like something to look back on when he's like 80 and say, "I did knock him off balance." You know, kids. I don't know. I guess he won't do it in that voice. I did knock him off balance, you know, kids.
Yeah. What is that?
It's not a very good Cork accent there.
No, that's because he's punchy, you know.
Jesus.
Have you got anything else to add, Dave?
No, it was pointless, and Lemieux trash.
Pointless on every level, Dave the head to low back.
Lemieux might be trash, but he has been in some entertaining fights, and he will continue to be so. Billy Joe Saunders was obviously a horrendous mismatch in terms of styles for him, but you know it's already been mentioned. The likes of Curtis Stevens, I remember Tapia was entertaining, although rather dangerous at the time. Hassan
Dangerous to his own health, anyway.
Yeah, you know, Hassan Mundam, Rosado, these are the types of, you know.
Yeah, and Dam's got to be his best win.
And Dam's a good win, yeah.
Yeah, it makes good TV, but putting him in against Billy Joe was obviously never going to work, but it was for the world title. And Canelo, I just think Canelo will batter him, to be honest. He would outbox him, and then around the mid-rounds, he would just knock him out.
Go on, Ozzy.
I just want to jump in on that. I think it's fair to say that with Lemieux, that unless he's in against someone who is legit world class, then I think he probably beats anybody. I mean, he's a legitimate puncher, without a doubt. And I mean, I think it showed itself. I mean, he stepped up against Saunders, got completely outboxed. He boxed Golovkin, and it was a one-sided beatdown. But then, in terms of like the one below, you know, like the elite / world level. I mean, I really rate Saunders. I'm not going to call him elite yet, but I think he's top class. Aside from that, you're going to see Lemieux win because, like I said, he is a legit puncher, and if you aren't world class or don't have the things to beat him, then ultimately I think he's there and thereabouts. And I don't want to see him in against Canelo, but I think he is just below that bracket of that elite / world level. Oh, Gary O'Sullivan, I mean, I think his mouth's got him in there, really. I mean, he got a payday of $400,000 last night or something like that.
Fair play to him, Ozzy, I suppose.
Yeah, of course, yeah. A serious payday. I mean, I think Lemieux, for his purse, got, I think, $200,000. No doubt he's got TV and stuff thrown in, which isn't that isn't included in that. But, I mean, for O'Sullivan, I mean, He's done excellently well to get the fight, but he's levels and levels above, below. I don't think he's European level. Being brutally honest, I don't. I mean, look at his record. I mean, since getting beat off Chris Eubank Jr. I mean, I think his best win's probably is Antoine Douglas, and aside from that, he's been with absolute shit, utter shite. And then, fair dues, he got this payday against Lemieux. But where does he go now, really? Because, like you said, Steve, every time he steps up, he gets beat. I don't think he won a round against Billy Joe Saunders. He gave it the big I am against Chris Eubank Jr. and quit. He gave it the big I am against David Lemieux and got iced in a round. So, I think he's had his payday there, and I just can't see where he goes unless he's used it as an opponent for someone like maybe like is it a Jason Quigley or something like that? Perhaps something like, going in as the away fighter again. Maybe he's on, like one of these MTK shows or something. Otherwise, I just think he'll hand the gloves up for good.
Shout out to our friend back in the chat, Chad Canner, regular appearance. I wonder who he is, really. He says, Brian King is the best host. We need him back on these podcasts.
It's fucking Brian. That's who it is.
I hate to break it to you, Chad. Brian's never hosted this podcast. Andy,
He's often took it over, but he hasn't hosted.
Well, exactly. Andy, whenever Spike was on the floor trying to get up, he reminded me of one of your sayings. His senses had been completely rewired.
Aye, true. As I say earlier on there, actually, I think he'd slightly overreached with his jab a wee bit. As a result, his posture kind of opened up his right hand. It left his jaw open. Of course, Lemieux caught him at the same time. And fuck, what do you do, man? As you say, he just got discombobulated, got up like a drunk. You could see after the fight day that he was quietly raging because he legit hates Lemieux, like. But I'm not a big fan of him either, actually. But to be honest, he's talked himself into that fight. As Ozzy says, fair play. He talked him into himself as a big payday. By average, I think was it Lemieux earned $200,000, and obviously he must have got money off Canadian TV off the back of that.
Yeah, he gets big money off Canadian TV, I think.
Aye, so
what about his weight? Because as the fighters walked towards the referee, you could clearly hear Andy Pascal Collins very audibly said to Spike, "Remember, Spike, that he has that soft belly."
Soft belly, yep. But what was it? Was it 15 pounds? I think Lemieux had on him. I was surprised at Spike's
179. He went up to
164. I think Spike rehydrated to. So it's clearly that he must be a light middleweight. But no, in the days, Lemieux's blamed the weight in the past for the Saunders fight. He's still salty about that defeat as well. We've mentioned it again there last night. He blamed the weight. He's now claiming he's legit middleweight and all that sort of stuff. So just be truthful with yourself. Just say you got owned, you got beat by the better fighter. Last night you beat, in essence, a club fighter. But as guys say, it's all set up now for Golovkin, for Golden Boy to set up the Canelo Lemieux fight. In-house pay-per-view fight for them. They'll just shop out to the biggest bidder. Probably HBO might bid for it. Who knows what's happening with them? Listen to their commentary last night. I mean, and to have those fights start so early and then to have like an hour and 20-minute delay in between as well. HBO's got 30 years experience of holding big fights. You think they know how to fucking sort that out there last night, but it's just evident again that they're gone right down the shitter.
Donny, tell us about Lemieux, but tell us about HBO, Donny, because they're getting taken over, isn't it, by Time Warner or something? You might know more about this shit than me.
I think they're already owned by Time Warner.
Is it, or is it somebody else taking over them? Then there's something going on.
Really? Oh, I didn't know about that.
Breaking news.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I guess what I would say is that I've heard rumors, quite a few rumors, going around that HBO, either whether it's by choice or whether it's through poor management and things like that. I mean, basically that they might be getting out of boxing, which is obviously an institution in the sport, and they've carried boxing on their work for well over, I think since about 40 years, and I mean, there's obviously so many great fights that have appeared on that network, both in the in the regular HBO network and on their pay-per-view broadcasts. And I mean, in some ways, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because the reason why that's happening is because all of the fights seem to be migrating back to free television or standard cable, which means that they're going to be accessible for more people, and that means that the sport is growing, or at least has more potential to grow because more people can see it. On the other hand, of course, like I said, they know how to do a good fight, and they've presented the product for a long time. There's a lot of institutional history there, and I think that they still have a role in boxing if they want to have one. But when you let Canelo's contract lapse, when you let Golovkin's contract lapse, when you let Kovalev's contract lapse, I think Jacobs only has one fight left on his, and I haven't heard anything about a renewal.
Donny, Superfly doing the worst boxing rankings in HBO history, Superfly 3.
Well, that's because the big guns were not on it, though. You know what I mean? Like SSR wasn't on it.
They should pull out of boxing.
They are pulling out of
Yeah,
boxing. It's AT&T, Donny, who are taking over Time Warner, and apparently the current executives or the new ones or whatever have no interest at all in live sport, and they're going more towards Game of Thrones and all that type of stuff.
See, that's what doesn't make sense to me, because the thing is that there are people. First of all, people stream those things illegally. That's number one. Number two is that there's other ways to watch that stuff. You can borrow your friend's password for HBO Go and watch it. But live sports is in fact the only thing that that most networks are paying for right now. Actually, is live sports. That's why every time the NFL, even though people are cutting the cord on cable and things like that, the value of the NFL contract keeps going up and up. That's why these networks are willing to pay for boxing. It's because you're guaranteed that that people are going to sit down and watch that because it's live, and it's not as much fun watching a sporting event when you already know the outcome, right? So you don't watch an NFL game a week after it happened, right? It's old news. You're not going to watch it at that point. So if you're going to watch the NFL, you're going to sit down and watch it live. If you're going to watch a big fight, you're going to sit down and watch it live. So that would seem to be a really stupid way of doing business, in my opinion. But obviously, I'm not in television. Maybe they know things that I don't know. But weren't they still
hung up, Donny, on like tape delays and stuff? Do you remember it was around Lomachenko? Wasn't it when Canelo, the first Canelo Triple G fight was supposed to happen in May and it got cancelled for whatever? Wasn't there a Lomachenko? Was it Lomachenko Linares was around the same time? And there was some issue over HBO because they wanted to show the tape delay from the, and people were like, tape delays, is that even still a thing?
Yeah. No, I don't even know, man.
I recall that. I recall that. What it was is the Linares Lomachenko fight was up on offer because the replay of Canelo Golovkin for the week before, which was a live pay-per-view, so Loma Linares was a week after that pay-per-view, and it was meant to be getting replayed. So I think the fight ended up starting early, the Linares fight. I think it was midnight, 1 o'clock or something. I remember it because it was night what do you call it? Eurovision Song Contest, because I had to go and pick up the wife. I was racing back to Glasgow. I was racing back to Glasgow trying to get home in time to watch the fight. It was at 1 o'clock in the morning, that fight.
Go on, Donny, finish up.
No, that
was a good anecdote, wasn't it?
But yeah, I mean, like I said, if they really are, I mean, like I said, there's rumors. Okay, maybe AT&T has no interest, but I don't know. We'll see. We're going to see if it's actually gone like that. I mean, like I said, if that's true, that'll be a sad thing. It is good that so much fights are migrating back to free networks, but I would like to think that HBO would still show some fights, and we'll see what happens. Also, with regards to Lemieux, I just think the guy is absolute fucking garbage. I really do. Like he sucks so badly, and the only thing he can do is punch. And we've seen this though. I mean, we saw Billy Joe Saunders just absolutely make a fool out of the guy, and any person that fucking buys Canelo Lemieux should be fucking shot in the face, because how do you even watch that, seeing what Billy Joe Saunders already did to him? I mean, the guy is he's so terrible, and he's just been able to get by for so long because he's a fairly decent looking young guy from Montreal, which is a big fight town, and he sells a lot of tickets and pay-per-views and shit like that. And so I mean, he's able to get by on that, but I mean, he is just a trash fighter, and against any person with a modicum of boxing skill, he just gets to be shown up for exactly the hype job that he is. And I just am so depressed that we have to sit through this bullshit, most likely in December, which is going to get in the way of fights we actually want to see. So, and also Mungia is a monster, and he is rising, and I think he'll be ready to take over that division pretty soon. He'll be ready to take over 160 when he moves up. He seems to be getting better with every fight, and I like what I'm seeing from him.
Yeah, glowing endorsement for you, Hater Dave, from friend John Swan over on Twitter. He says, typical dumb yank, Hater Dave, with his British bum talk. So a glowing endorsement for you, Dave.
I knew I'd get somebody mad.
Right, tell me about Munguia, Rob. I'm glad that Brandon Cook finally got a payday. I'm a bit gutted for him. He only got 30 grand. He was messed about by Brook. He was messed about by... Wasn't he supposed to fight Eggington as well? He finally got thrown in for a fight, and it's against this absolute monster. Can't really catch a break, this lad.
No, and I suppose it's good exposure for him, but he didn't get to put up much of a performance because Munguia is so much bigger. Like,
He got exposed, all right.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's a chance of exposure. If you go there, you're taking a risk. You're the B side. The odds are stacked against you. Munguia is going to get better, like, isn't he? He's raw still, but I could see him campaigning that middleweight from fan base purpose. He looks like he's going to be a big sell, and you know, he's exciting. He comes forward. He's young. He's maybe the next Mexican superstar if they can get him in some big fights, and he looks good. Like, so hard to say about him at this stage. So far, so good from him. Like, he looks good. I thought he looked better than he did. He looked a bit raw. And the last time I saw him, I can't remember the name of the opponent, but yeah, he's all right, Munguia.
Thumbs up there from Rob on Munguia. Smido, let's go to you on Roman Gonzalez against Moises Fuentes. I thought that the ex-pro Kevin Kelly made a good point on the Golden Boy stream about Gonzalez's style changing. He doesn't move his head as much now. He holds his hands up high and he cups them around his face because he's scarred mentally, says Kevin Kelly, and physically from the headbutts and the cuts that he sustained in the Saw Rungvisai fight. Interesting assessment there on the style and strategy of Gonzalez going forward, Smid.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. He's got to be a damaged fighter, hasn't he? I mean, what weight was the fight at last night, Steve?
Super fly.
I mean, I still think that's too high for him. He should be back down at flyweight if he can. I mean, I'm half surprised that he carried on. You know, Steve Chocolatito. I mean, I came to the party a bit late. Andy's probably your man for it, but yeah, I was surprised he carried on after he'd been beat by the Rungvisai twice. But he's not. But similar to a little bit similar to Golovkin in that he didn't get the exposure until late in his career. So he needs to carry on. But I mean, it was a decent enough win, wasn't it, Steve? But I mean that the opponent last night has not done a lot of late. I mean, that's four losses in his last 5 fights now.
His claim to fame, Smido, was ending the career of the great Ivan Calderon, but obviously Calderon was never a big puncher and he was too high in weight and pretty much done. So you can't really give that in Fuentes' favour, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, because it was on so early as well last night, I don't know how much traction that fight would have got. I mean, I don't really know where Gonzalez goes because I think the top kid is at Superfly because of his size. I think are going to just beat him again as Rungvisai has done twice.
Pretty much, yes. I think he just wanted to come back and see what he had left. I'm not sure what assessment he'll be making off the back of that. Right, let's go on to a few more points of interest. Andy, you were talking last night about... What were you talking about is the question. Avni Yildirim, Mr. Robot, my old friend, TBE, he's taking over. He only managed a majority decision draw. 113, 112, 113, 113 were two of the scorecards against Lolenga Mock. To be fair, Mock's a brilliant fighter, and he's 46 years young.
Yep, mate. He's somehow managed to fight himself into a WBC final eliminator there last night. He's been undefeated since 2015.
His 15th loss ever.
I mean... I don't know. I'm looking at some of the names and stuff. Like, obviously, he's been fighting mostly in Denmark and that, but he's Patrick Mendy, Derek Finlay, Ruben Acosta, Derek Edwards, Luke Blackledge, and Dmitry Chudinov. That's what's finally got him in a final eliminator against Avni Yildirim. And the guy's come out and he's new WBC mandatory for, I think it's at Benavides. I think he's a champ. I think at that weight. So, well, if I wait a minute, Callum Smith, I think, still the number one contender for like 16 years. 14 weeks and so many days or something like that. I don't know, but no, he's basically going to be next in line. I think they looks at it as well, but I've not seen it. But obviously, Mock. I mean, 113. There's got to be some knockdowns in there somewhere, eh?
I think so. Mr. Robot, he's not that good, is he? All joking aside. Another thing you mentioned, Andy, as well last night, it's gone under the radar. The Italian Domenico Valentino, very good amateur lightweight, has turned pro. It went past our knowledge. He won the vacant Italian lightweight title. Could be one to watch in the future.
Maybe. I mean, obviously, he beat Josh Taylor in the Olympics in 2012. He's been in, he lost to Frankie Gavin in the Worlds 2011. He's an ex-world champion himself. fought Lomachenko, beat Jose Pedraza, become world champion as well. So 34, 4-0. It'll be interesting to see how far he can go. But he's obviously he's mixed with some of the top amateurs. How he can translate into professional, it's going to be. I think it's going to be hard. I mean, he's going to be matched pretty well and probably pretty quickly as well. But I don't foresee him actually being much of a threat at lightweight. Like,
shout out to an interesting fighter who's taking a fight that's going on this afternoon, including Japanese middleweight Hammer Gorilla. Love that name, Hammer Gorilla. Hopefully we'll be. We were trying to get the original Gorilla actually on John Ryder tonight. He is going to come on pretty soon. Wasn't available tonight, unfortunately.
You have to say his full name, Steve.
Go on then.
It's Hammer Gorilla, Hammer Dog.
I'm going to have to try and dig that out before the end of the pod. Well done.
Where's David here? He should have been coming up with that one.
Come on then, Dave. Give us your impression.
Sorry, what are you talking about?
I'm a gorilla. I'm a dog.
Well, you have that recorded, don't you?
Yeah, but you're the main man. You can do it live.
I'm a gorilla. I'm a dog. I'm a dog. I'm a gorilla. I talk about shit.
I think someone's crying in the background, as they might. Right, hey to Dave or Donny or anybody else, I suppose. Did anyone see this fight from Friday night? Casual moment. I completely forgot about it. Jose Carlos Ramirez defending his super lightweight title against Antonio Orozco. Apparently, it was a very good fight. I saw Andy mention it earlier on Twitter, actually. Anybody see it? I didn't.
Nope, but don't get caught by the
Negative.
casual hunter. The guy that's hunting casuals is going to find you over that one.
Casual hunter coming after me. Right, let's forget all about that then. Ozzy, a few notes before we go into the Anthony Joshua, Alexander Povetkin preview. Alexander Usyk signs with Matchroom. Does he though, really? Isn't it another one of these co-promotional deals that Eddie is coming off with at the moment? Apparently so. Usyk will be fighting Tony Bellew. November the 10th, is it, Ozzy? Happy enough with this?
Yeah, I don't mind the fight at all. I think it's going to be relatively straightforward for Usyk, to be honest, and I actually think it could be quite boring. I don't expect it to be an absolute barnstormer. I mean, Bellew was on TalkSport the weekend saying that Usyk's not got the power, and what Bellew has got, he has got that one punch knockout power. And I mean, he says that, but I was trying to think of people who he's actually knocked out completely cold. Now I know he did it to Ilunga Makabu, and he was that was a great shot, a great knockout. But aside from that, I couldn't really recall any of these concussive, one punch knockouts, which he kept referring to, saying that I've got this and I've got that. If anyone can remember, that'd be great, and let me know. Otherwise, then it's just Bellew being Bellew, trying to talk up a fight, which, in my opinion, he has got absolutely no chance of winning. But I think it'll be the last time we'll see Bellew in a ring after this, whether it be win, lose, or draw. Props to Alexander Usyk, ultimate champion. I think this is his sixth fight on the road now where he's defending his belts, and he's going to the backyard of all the other, whether it be challengers or champions when he was boxing. So excellent. We want to see fair play. Like I said, it's a decent fight. They're promising a good undercard as well. I think Ryan Walsh, Isaac Lowe's definitely on that.
Where's it taking place, Ozzy? Is it Manchester?
Yeah, MEN Arena, Manchester Arena. So I think tickets go on sale next week or something like that. So that'll sell out pretty quickly. Another pay-per-view. But I don't think you can begrudge that. At the end of the day, it's all four belts are on the line. Good fight. And again, Usyk's probably one of the better fighters that you'll see in our generation.
Yeah, there's a lot of love for Tony in the chat, rightly so. Tommy Hearns, the man himself, says Bellew's taking one last chance and a nice payday. He'll be retiring afterwards. Good fight for Bellew, says John Swan. Plenty of money and unlikely to get hurt too badly. Dave Tricks says fair play to Bellew for taking this fight. Quick word from you, Donny, on Usyk Bellew.
I'm very excited to hear that this fight was done. I really have a hard time seeing how Bellew wins it. maybe, I mean, maybe he could score a huge punch that could hurt him. And then, Bellew actually is a pretty decent finisher, as he showed against Makabu. So, I mean, yeah, there's an outside chance always, I guess, that there's, anybody with some decent punching power could make something happen. But it's very difficult for me to see how he's going to deal with that, that excellent movement. I think what would also be a size advantage for Usyk. And, I mean, he's just going to get outboxed. And it's just as simple as that, I think. But I'm excited to see that it's made. I didn't think he'd take it. I actually thought he'd try to chase some other paydays, maybe up at heavyweight, try to take some, bouts that maybe like even though he'd lose, maybe he'd make a lot of money. Obviously, heavyweight is where the riches lie. So I thought he might try that, but he's taking on the best guy in probably the division that he naturally belongs in. And so, how can you knock that, really? I do, however, think this throws out there that if he somehow gets this done, if he were to somehow pull a rabbit out of a hat here and beat Usyk, I think he's definitely in the Hall of Fame. So that's something I said earlier this week. I don't know how anybody feels about that, but
Smido, did you want to come in on that one?
Yeah, sure. I don't like giving Tony Bellew any credit whatsoever, but on this occasion, you've got to, just hats off to him for taking it. I thought initially that they was going to hide behind the fact that Usyk's not a massive name in Great Britain, but it appears they have not. Apparently, Bellew wanted this fight since the get-go when Usyk called him out after the last fight. Just a couple of things on Bellew. He's obviously spent the last, by the time he gets in the ring, it'll be nearly 18 months of milking David Haye for millions and millions of pounds from casuals, which I think was verging on disgusting, to be honest. He's 2 from 2 in world title, two wins, 2 losses in world title fights in his career, Tony Bellew, and one of those wins was against BJ Flores. I don't know how seriously we can take him, to be honest. I think he's kind of been lucky in a sense that he's been operating at a time when the casuals can be easily milked, and fair play to him. He's turned himself into a little bit of a household name, Bellew. I mean, he'd probably be in the top 5 most recognisable boxers in the country at the moment. We're seeing him on Sky Sports News. He's interviewed Joshua today, that was shown on Primetime Sky. He's been on A League of Their Own, Soccer AM, etc. I think he's got absolutely no chance whatsoever of winning this fight at all. I can't give him a chance at all. Usyk in the betting is 1-6. Hopefully the casuals all bet on Bellew, and I can back Usyk at a little bit of a better price than that. I just can't see him winning at all. The most unfortunate thing about it all, though, is it's another pay-per-view. Yet another pay-per-view in this country. I'm not saying that the fight, given that Usyk's one of the best boxers in the world, doesn't fit the argument of requiring pay-per-view to make it. I'm not necessarily arguing against that, but I think as a whole, 2018 currently with what's gone already and what is officially scheduled, so I'm not including Chisora and White in this year. Currently, there's been 6 Saturday night boxing cards, and with the addition of Bellew and Usyk, and obviously we've got Joshua next week, 5 Sky Sports or Matchroom pay-per-view cards. I think it's absolutely disgusting. We're looking at possibly in the region of, if you include last night, possibly between the 15th of September and the end of the year, in the region of 120 or 130 quid in pay-per-view costs if you're to buy each one. And I know I keep repeating this every time I come on, but for people like me, I'm just packing up paying. It's horrendous, to be honest. I think the card probably will be half decent. I don't know how much they're paying Usyk, because, like you say, Steve, he's used to going on the road. He's fighting pretty regular anyway. He seems to have appeared to have signed this deal with Hearn and Matchroom, but I think, as you mentioned, Steve, it's similar to what I think Frank's been doing with the likes of Frampton and possibly Fury. It's just I can't see Usyk attending the Matchroom annual barbecue. He's just using it as a way to get onto the zone and obviously this fight and possibly a way through to Joshua. I don't see Eddie and Usyk being best friends. It's just one of those.
Cheers, Smido. Stick around. We're going to be coming to you on Joshua Povetkin regarding the odds and all that type of stuff shortly. Just before we do that, big fight next week involving the aforementioned Jack Kulkai going in Germany. He's the opponent against Rafael Bejaran. IBF international titles on the line. Sure, nobody gives a monkey's about that. Right, fasten your seatbelts, everybody. Cardiff Crushers on the call. Hamed, how are you?
Yeah, how's it going, Steve?
Not too bad. Right, Hamed, do you feel like you've vindicated? Like after your Canelo Triple G prediction a couple of weeks ago, they were all having a go at you, but you came out fighting.
You know what? I'm gonna play it just so I can rub a bit of salt.
He's shown much more dimensions. He's been in with better fighters than Mayweather, Cotto, and Golovkin before. I don't think Golovkin has fought the same caliber of fighters, and I think Canelo will adapt, and he's the guy that will make the adjustments, and he'll probably win this fight. Maybe a split or majority decision, but I think.
There you heard it. All right.
No way, Hamed dropping his own recordings. Loving that, Hamed. Loving that.
That was on a podcast last week. It was a tough fight to predict. I thought it was a really good fight. But I'm kind of a bit disappointed in the fact that I agree with everything you guys were saying. I think Golovkin should have won the first fight, but last night I didn't have too much complaints, if I'm being honest. I agreed with someone, I can't remember, one of the guys on the panel, because there's a lot of you on there. I thought it was a draw, but if I had to choose one or the other, gun to my head, I'd probably say Triple G, 115, 113, but then it's bad in a way because the first fight I thought Golovkin won based on his aggression, and he was the one who was forcing the fight, and I thought he controlled the 7 or 8 round. I don't think the first fight was as close as some people thought, even though I had it like 115, 113. I think a competitive fight and a close fight, people are getting mixed up. A lot of those rounds were competitive, and overall, if you look at the scorecard, it was close. But I thought clearly in about 7, definitely 6. I thought Golovkin clearly won 6 or 7. I don't think Canelo won 7 rounds in the first fight. So I thought Golovkin should have got the decision. To last night's fight, I think Canelo could make an argument of winning that fight. I thought they could have went either way, 7-5. But I think a draw would have been fair because after what they did to Golovkin in the first fight, I think they kind of screwed him. And last night, I mean, I thought that Golovkin might get the benefit of the doubt. I was saying when it got really close to the fight, this would probably end in a draw. The actual fight round by round, if I'm going to score it, probably be a draw similar to last year. And Canelo would probably do 1 or 2 more rounds better. But I think it'll end in a controversial decision. And I think people will probably be disagreeing with the decision. But I thought when the decision was about to be announced, I thought Golovkin would probably get it. But I was quite surprised that Canelo actually got it. But I think the fight being in Vegas, the fact that he was the aggressor for the first 8 or 9 rounds for the majority, I could see why he got the decision. I wouldn't call it a robbery. I mean, that kind of made me a bit sick. I had to get off Twitter for a while because I don't know if there's so many Golovkin fans or if they're feeling bad about the first fight. But judging it round by round, I could make a case for anywhere between 7-5 for Golovkin to 7-5 Canelo. I could even go as far as saying 8-4. But the way I thought HBO judged it, Harold Lederman and the rest of it, I don't think they did a good job. I thought 6-3 after 9 rounds to Golovkin was a bit wide. I thought Canelo was clearly in the fight after 8, maybe even 9, I think. I can't remember the exact score I had after 9. But after 8, I had about 4-4 or 5-3 Canelo. I thought Canelo was the one who was winning the early rounds. He was the one who was forcing the action. And I thought Golovkin was moving backwards. I think Abel Sanchez has been made to look really bad. The fact that you're seeing Golovkin wants him to stand there and he doesn't want Canelo running. I don't like calling fighters running, but it looked like Golovkin was running for about 7 or 8 rounds. I wouldn't personally call it running. I think he was boxing off the back foot, and I kept putting on Twitter, can Golovkin fight off the back foot? He did, but he's not effective. Like, it was similar to, I thought, Danny Garcia and Sean Porter, but it's a completely different fight. I think Golovkin threw way more on the back foot and he hurt Canelo down the stretch. That's why I scored a draw, 114, 114, but I thought Golovkin took the later rounds, and it looked like Golovkin possibly might have edged it, but I would have been okay with a draw. I'm not too mad at the decision. I think Canelo, he was the busier guy, he looked like, for the majority of the first 8 or 9 rounds, and I think the judges probably had him ahead, and that probably swayed it. But then when I looked at the scorecards, I think one of the judges that gave Canelo the 12th, if he didn't give that to Canelo, it would have been a draw. I thought it was a really good fight. How did you score it?
I didn't score it at all, Hamid. What do you think going forward if the respective fighters will do? Do you think Triple G will hang them up? Canelo, Lemieux, maybe?
I think Golovkin, I agree, Lemieux is garbage, whoever said that. And I think him knocking out Spike O'Sullivan doesn't show anything. I think Spike O'Sullivan was just made for him stylistic. I think Spike O'Sullivan, if he used his legs and he used his head a bit more and he didn't stand in front of him, I think after he hurt him, he probably would have beaten him. But I think there might be just levels to it. For Golovkin, I think Golovkin would probably not want to go into an immediate fight with him. I think this would have been fair, just going back to the fight. I think Golovkin should have won the first one based on, if we want to be consistent, he was the effective aggressor in the first fight. In the second one, I think Canelo probably looked like for majority of the rounds. I think Andre Ward made a really good point with Stephen A. Smith. I disagree a bit, though. I don't think Canelo dominated the fight. I think he was trying to say Canelo won 8 rounds or something like that. But
Do you think Abel Sanchez was trying to write checks rather that Golovkin couldn't cash? You know, the way he was saying about the standing still. But also, Rob Kelly made a good point earlier. He said that Abel should have been telling Golovkin to push forward and pressure Canelo earlier on. Do you think Abel knew deep down that Golovkin could not sustain that type of pressure and pace for the full 12 rounds?
I think Golovkin would have got knocked out. That's why he was moving backward. I said all along, it wasn't just guys on here. I'm not going to call people out. Like, that was a close fight.
No, call them out by name.
I even said this fight was much harder to predict because Canelo hadn't fought in over a year, so we didn't know what we were going to get. Canelo looked considerably smaller, but again, size doesn't really make a difference if they're both middleweights. Like, it wasn't like a weight advantage for Golovkin, so I think people are just reading too much into it. I think this kind of shows might give a picture if Canelo might have been clean or there's a question mark. It's definitely debatable, but I think Abel Sanchez got it wrong. I think Golovkin felt the body shots. I think Canelo probably won that fight based on body shots. I still thought it was a draw. I think a draw would have been best result, but I would have been okay if the first fight Golovkin got it and then Canelo won this. I think that would have been okay, but I would have taken 2 draws, but I don't think they were going to give another draw last night. I think Golovkin 36, they probably, I don't think Vegas and the whole commission, I think Canelo's the cash cow going forward, so they probably, from a business point of view, I think Canelo for boxing might be better, but I don't think too many people like him. But I'm going to give it credit. I thought Canelo, it looked like, was the puncher in there for the first 7 or 8 rounds. I think Golovkin did hurt him a lot down the stretch, and Canelo was kind of gassed, but I think Golovkin's age showed. I think he's declined, and I think he's towards the end of his career. I can't see him fighting more than 2 or 3 more times.
I think, Hamed, Golovkin was landing with the right hand as the fight went on, and the jab was working well throughout. Listen, I'm going to have to move on shortly, so very quickly, tell me about Joshua Povetkin coming up next week. Who you got?
I've kind of not even thought about this fight. I don't know. Joshua's saying that he's going to try and... He's trying to say he wants to make a statement. I think that could play into Povetkin's hands. I'll just say this. If the fight goes more than 5-6 rounds, I think Joshua will probably beat him. I think Joshua will probably knock him out. Styles make fights, but I give Povetkin a bigger puncher's chance than Parker, but Povetkin is also open, and I was there when he fought David Price. I think size is not on his side. He's a very small heavyweight, and he looks old. I'd probably, if I was putting money on, probably Joshua stops him. I don't know, possibly controversial decision from the controversial knockout by the referee, like a premature stoppage, but maybe Povetkin have a chance. I won't be surprised if Povetkin puts him down in the early rounds, but it depends how Joshua fights. If he has his guard up for first 5-6 rounds and it goes late, I think Joshua will take it.
Great stuff. Hamed, get recording yourself saying all this, because next week I want you back on playing those audios either way, okay?
No, I don't know about that.
Cheers, Hamed. All the best.
All right, take it.
See you later. Bye. Hamed there, everybody, dropping knowledge bombs on the Nuthouse. If anybody, if you want to send me a message, by the way, about your feelings, your thoughts, boxing related, preferably, but whatever you want, I suppose, send me a WhatsApp message, and I'll play them the way Hamed did over the air. If you're more comfortable with talking than you are with writing, Andy, you can do both things: talking, writing, bit of everything. Tell me about Joshua against Povetkin. 15,000 tickets left. The Sun. The paragon of knowledge were saying last week the bums aren't quite going on the seats. Is that because the people want to see Wilder against Joshua? What's going on behind these ticket sales, Andy?
I don't know, mate. It could be a number of things. Could be the price. Could be folk didn't want to go. Also, as well, you've got Christmas coming up. Okay, it's still mid-September and that, but not everybody's got the money to kind of fork out nowadays and all that sort of shit, especially when we want to go to London and that. It's not cheap. But I'm not really fussed about the ticket sales and that. So for the fight itself, I expect Joshua. Well, I think we spent a wee bit of time on it. I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but I think Joshua's going to win. I don't think he'll have it all his own way, unless he's going to come out and just hits Povetkin with an arsehole winder, a shot that he just doesn't recover from. But I expect him to have some rocky moments. I think it'll probably kind of resemble a wee bit like the Vlad fight against Povetkin. Povetkin generally is tough and durable, but he is 39. Has he still got the chin? Who knows? But we'll wait and see. I think it'll be a kind of semi-competitive fight. I don't expect. Well, I hope Povetkin doesn't come to lie down or just earn a payday in that, because this is his last chance at world title, and so I expect him to kind of put a good performance in. It's not the type of opponent as well for Joshua to be sleep on. If he drops his right hand, and if somehow Povetkin can just get inside and just wing that left hook upstairs, Joshua could be in a lot of problems. And but if he nullifies that left hook, I think he's basically on. He's banking a win pretty easily after that. We still see Takam though. Okay, it was late notice and that it could be a factor, but smaller, stouter guy who did give Joshua problems and some issues to think about. And that Takam isn't Povetkin. Povetkin is a well-schooled fighter, even at 39. Unless he's absolutely shot and diminished over the last years and that I've not seen, he's still got enough about him, I think, to cause Joshua a lot of problems unless he's not switched on. And we could get an upset. But no, I would expect Joshua to win this and probably win it well at some point. As to how it goes, I'm kind of tossing between a late stoppage for Joshua or something like 117, 111 on the scorecards. Maybe I'll have a better prediction, I suppose, kind of closer to the end of the next week.
Yeah, Dave, I'm going for Joshua by nullification more than anything. Every time I think to myself, I try to convince myself Povetkin has a chance. He has that amateur pedigree. He's a puncher, blah, blah, blah. He's maybe not as small as people think. I always think back to the Klitschko fight, and I think that's exactly what Joshua's going to be doing. He showed in his last couple of outings, especially against Parker, the jab and grab, the pretty stationary stuff. He's going to be jabbing Povetkin. He's going to be throwing the right hand. He's going to be, as Andy said, neutralising the left hook and trying to grab him and hold him down at every opportunity. And as the fight goes later on, I think Joshua starts to take over. Don't know if he'll stop him or not, but I think he's going to nullify him, Dave, to a wide points win.
At this point, with the older Povetkin we have, most likely not on the juice anymore, given that he knows that his payday is totally out the window if he juices this time around. Plus, it's not in his hometown for a change. So he's probably, that said, I mean, the roids can benefit athletes after long after they stop using them, regardless. But he's probably not on the juice for this fight, and he's older now. Got rocked by David Price in his last fight, not seriously rocked, but hit and rocked. I think Joshua will stop him. So he'll probably be cautious about it. And he's lighter now. He shifted some of the weight after everyone blamed his poor performance against Takam for being too heavy. So he lost some of the weight for Parker. I think he's light. He's still lighter, and he'll probably have the stamina to jab, grab, lean on him. He actually, against Parker, one thing that he did that I liked, although I didn't think it was a very great performance by him, he landed some body shots even at long range, mixed it up, kept Parker back, sort of a straight uppercut body shot. They weren't super impactful, but they scored and they kept him back. Those will probably play a role against Povetkin as well. So yeah, Joshua win. It's not a great fight. And it's really a testament to the heavyweight division that when, like, Joshua fans would say, well, who should he fight then? Well, obviously they avoided the Wilder fight, but they can't make that fight now because Wilder and Fury are allegedly fighting. But then who else really is there? I mean, the division is shit, and Povetkin really is probably in nearly the top 5 of the division, which is pretty sad.
Pretty sad, says Dave. It's sad that I missed a question from Amir Khan earlier. He was talking about Triple G. He said he had it by a draw or by 1 round to Triple G. He thinks that Triple G might retire. And also he asked about possibly will we see a third fight. We did cover that earlier, Amir. So hopefully I've done you some justice. Boardroom Bully was in the chat talking about AJ's resume. Said he has a good resume. I think, yeah, for his era, I would agree with that. I think AJ has got a pretty good resume considering, wins over Parker, wins over Klitschko. It's as good as anyone else is doing. Smido, you have a resume that I'm impressed with, coming off with the betting tips. Someone said earlier in the chat that you couldn't pick your nose. Tell us about where the smart money is going to be going for Povetkin Joshua, Smith.
I've just been picking my nose, actually, to be fair. Joshua's is about 1-9 for the win, which makes Povetkin about 8-1. Draws at 50-1 if you want that. The Joshua KO, if you expect him to get back to KO ways, is in the region of 1-3, maybe a little bit better, 4-11. What takes my eye in this, and what I've already backed and will probably back again, Joshua rounds 1-6 at 8-5. I think that's too big, to be honest, frankly. I just think that Joshua against Parker, I mean, I expected him and wanted him to knock him out to keep the record of knockouts going. I think he was 20 straight knockouts before that. But they've gone down the usual route of when someone goes 12 rounds for the first time, saying, I've got them rounds in the bank, I've proved that I can box, etc. I heard him saying that today in that Bellew interview that he's done. I expect Joshua to get back to knockout ways here. I think Povetkin is going to be there at range to land Joshua's right hand that we didn't really see against Povetkin against Parker as much in the last fight. I think he will land that, and I think that when Povetkin comes in close, as I'm pretty sure he's going to do, in order to try and land that left hook, I think that's where Joshua might be able to pick him off with maybe uppercuts in that kind of area. I don't think Povetkin is going to fall in his shell. I think he'll definitely have a go, win, lose or draw, and I think that'll make it an entertaining fight. So I see Joshua winning in the first 6 rounds, and whoever says I can't pick my nose, come and speak to me next week.
Smido's going to be playing audio clips like Hamed next week. Be aware, everybody. Right, I'm thinking to myself, what's Rob Kelly thinking about this fight? Is he going for Joshua KO? Is he going for Povetkin KO? I'm sure everybody in the chat is wondering as well. Let's find out, Rob. How's it going to go down?
I'd more lean towards the AJ KO and probably early. I think he might blow him out a la Lennox Lewis, Francois Botha. That's a loose comparison, by the way.
Love that one.
That's a real Spencer Fearon one, that one, isn't it? But yeah.
You picked that because of the imagery, right? A fat white guy.
Yeah, exactly. For my man hunting casuals.
Didn't he start shouting about Tyson at ringside after that, Rob?
Yeah, I believe he did. But look, I think I'd favour AJ. There's so much gone on in the background. The backstory to this has been all about Wilder up, and then Fury's come and thrown a spanner in the works. So, you'd have to say AJ'd have to be fully switched on against Povetkin, even at his age and his drug cheat ways. He's still dangerous. He's in there now. He's been cleared to fight, which is abominable to me. The guy's failed so many drug tests. Like, I'm surprised he's back in the sport. But whatever. He's there as a legitimate opponent for AJ now, off the back of a big win against David Price. So when you put it in that perspective, you'd hope if AJ is anything that he'd dispose of Povetkin. But Povetkin's been a very good fighter. He's only lost to Klitschko, and I believe AJ is vulnerable to that left hook. Was it a left hook White caught him with? And was it Klitschko? Yes. Did Klitschko put him down with a left hook as well?
No, it was a right hand. Klitschko
put him down with
it, yeah.
That was a bit of a catch and shoot, but I believe he's vulnerable anyway. And if the fight goes past 6 rounds, you never know with AJ. But I'd fancy him to do the job here.
Yeah, I believe after Lennox Lewis knocked out Franz Botha, he went ringside. They mentioned Tyson. I think the fight was in Sheffield actually, and he said, "Tell Mike Tyson to either put up or shut up." Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. Povetkin can KO anyone, says Tosh Bear in the chat. Will he be KOing AJ Ozzy on Saturday night?
I can't see it personally. I agree with what others have said. I don't think he'll have it all his own way, Joshua. I mean, I watched the David Price knockout back from Povetkin, and whilst you can't gauge a lot off it, it was a sickening shot, a real sickening shot, and Price was absolutely gone. He's clearly got power, and it will be interesting now. Things that I've noticed, Joshua's come out and said that he's going to adopt a more aggressive style and he's going to go looking for Povetkin. Well, I actually think that could play into Povetkin's hands, to be honest. Because if he's going to come out all guns blazing, we do know that Povetkin's got power. And I think if he lands flush, particularly with that hook, then I wouldn't be shocked to see Joshua get hurt. That saying, I don't think Povetkin's got the gas tank. I think it will go rounds, and I expect Joshua to probably stop him later on. But again, I don't think he'll have it all his own way, and I don't want him to have it all his own way because I think it's good that because he's still learning on the job. I think it's quite open that people say that, so it's different tests. Be interesting to see what type of shape Povetkin comes in. He's been sparring Big Daniel Dubois out in Russia, so in terms of size, it's a relatively decent comparison. They tried to get Joe Joyce as well, but we know Joyce's team turned that down. So I don't think the fight will be that bad, to be honest. I think Joshua will stop him late, but will perhaps encounter a few rough patches throughout the fight.
Thanks, Ozzy. We'll be coming to you on Asking a Coley shortly. I'm going to give everybody a particular fight on the undercard, as I do whenever we're coming towards the end of the show. September is pay-per-view month, as Smido no doubt mentioned. Donny, last night we had on BT Sport, I think it was about £17 you had to shell out for Canelo Triple G2. Povetkin next week against Joshua is about 20 quid as well on Sky Sports box office. And then on ITV box office, I love the way they call it box office. It's like a nice little soft euphemism, isn't it, for instead of pay-per-view. Anyway, Groves against Smith is the following week on ITV box office, so you better get your hands in your pockets, fools. Don't know about you, Donny. DAZN are showing Joshua Povetkin. Are you a subscriber to DAZN, Donny? You and about 10 other people in America. How are you going to get to watch it?
Well, there is a 30-day free trial, so I guess I could just do that.
Go on then. What are you going to be witnessing?
I said there's a 30-day free trial, so I'll probably just do that at least to start with. $15 a month sounds a little bit pricey, especially when ESPN Plus. And I don't like. First of all, I've already gone on record before is why that pisses me off. When you deliberately take content off of cable that people are paying for it and put it on like the ESPN app, it's like, well, why are you doing that to somebody who's already your paying customer? It's like you're fucking them twice. So, but at least with DAZN, they're a standalone streaming network, and I'm okay with that. That's the product they're selling, and this has to be the fight that hopefully will net them a lot of subscribers here in America. In terms of what we'll be witnessing, in the actual nuts and bolts of the fight, I think that Povetkin's already shown us what he does against big, tall fighters like this, who know how to use their range and their reach. And it was when he fought Klitschko, and it was he went in charging head first, like a bull at a china shop, but with no skill behind that. And Klitschko just jabbed him, tied him up, jabbed him, tied him up, and and it was easy work for him, and he knocked him down 6 times if I recall. So this is an older version of Povetkin, and all right, maybe Joshua isn't quite as adept at using that jab the way Klitschko did. I mean, he has one of the all-time great jabs, but I mean, in general, if you fight tall and you fight long, Povetkin isn't very, very skilled at getting inside to land his shots, and so I think that if he just follows the Vladimir Klitschko blueprint against an older, probably slower version of the same guy, he will have even more spectacular results. I could see a late stoppage or a wide points win.
everyone's going pretty much around the same sort of angle, I think. I don't think anyone's picking Povetkin anyway. Right, fight each on the undercard, or might have to double up on a few of them because there's not a hell of a lot listed. Smido, first thing to you. Luke Campbell, chance for revenge against Ivan Mendy. One of the interesting dynamics about the fight is that Campbell's now training with Shane McGuigan, so I suppose he'd be able to work on a few things. You'd expect him to get the job done against Mendy now, wouldn't you? And march on to maybe a world shot or something, Campbell?
Yeah, it was a bit of a shock the first time round, but it was a well-deserved win for Mendy, as I remember it. Campbell, obviously, a few personal issues at the time. I just wonder. I didn't know about the link up with Shane McGuigan, Steve. To be honest, that's news to my casual ears. But yeah, I just think that Campbell, he did put up a good performance against Linares, but that was over. Well, it'll be nearly 364 days. So very nearly to the day when he gets in the ring next Saturday. And he's done very little in between time. Because he's not the youngest Campbell, he might look it, but I just don't want him. I don't want his career to kind of dwindle away. I would expect him to beat Mendy, but we say that we say Mendy. I mean, he's going to come in here. He's had a lot more fights than Luke Campbell in the interim. I'm just looking on BoxRec here. I mean, he's had 7 fights, and he's won them all rather convincingly. Yes, at a lower level. There's no reason at all why Ivan Mendy won't be coming into this fight thinking he can just do the same job again. And I think as a result, we've got the ingredients for a good fight. On the odds, Campbell's 3-10, which is pretty similar to how it was in the first fight. So I'll be watching this one with my betting in play hat on. And I think it'll turn out to be quite decent, to be honest. Neither of them are massive knockout artists, but they'll land a fair few punches each, and I think we'll get to the back end of the fight with it being interesting in regards to what the outcome will be. Looking forward to it.
It's actually been 3 years ago, Andy, this Campbell-Mendy fight since the first one. Mendy hasn't lost. He's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wins on the bounce, including taking the unbeaten record of Francesco Patera in 2016. Patera obviously is going in against Lewis Ritson, isn't he, for the European title soon? So, you know what? He's going to be coming in with confidence, Mendy. I don't think it's necessarily a given. I think Campbell will win, but he's not going to just come in and roll over this lad.
I wouldn't think so anyway. As you say, he's been undefeated since, I think it was Edith Tatley, I think. But he is up in age now. I would think Campbell would also take a lot of confidence off it. Okay, he lost off Linares and that, but I thought he gave a really spready performance. Like Smido, I didn't think any changed trainers and that, but I think he'll have learned for the first fight. Okay, I think he got dropped in the fight, I think, as well. But he kind of fought himself back into it. So I expect improvements from this time. The only problem is if he does win it, I don't see him fighting Garcia, because obviously he's made comments already about they're kind of hoping, or he's kind of looking for Garcia to vacate the WBC title. So it's clear that he's not going to be wanting to fight him anytime soon. This is meant to be some sort of eliminator, but I think Campbell's got enough about him this time, actually. He'll learn from the mistakes. But at the same time, I think it's going to be a really competitive fight. And again, it really depends. Mendy, to say he is up in age, can Campbell make him work for the full 12 rounds and then just sneak out a decision or win a handy decision? I think it's his fight to lose, basically, for Campbell, in my opinion.
Ozzy, I mentioned asking against Okoli. Obviously, we've had Matty on the show. Big fan of him, the way he's turned his career around. He's on a rich vein of form. The trap I don't want to fall into, Ozzy, is to sort of judge Okoli on perceptions and say, Matty's come on the show, we're big fans of him, blah, 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 and make that an automatic given that he's going to knock out Okoli. I think that would be giving Okoli a disservice, and the fact they've took this fight shows that they're obviously very confident, which controversially leads me, I'm just maybe favouring Okoli, to be honest, Ozzy. I know you're a big Askin fan, and I would love to see Matty do it, but I don't want to let that, sort of taint my view on this fight. And I think it generally is a 50-50.
Yeah, I can see why people think it's close, but for me, I'm going with the guy who's got the experience. He's been in the tough fights. He's travelled away from home before, and that is Matty Askin. That he's a big cruiserweight, and this is going to be Okoli's first test from where somebody matches him for size, because whilst Chamberlain, yes, had a bit of height, he isn't exactly the biggest cruiserweight, but he's quite gangly, if you were to call that. Luke Watkins is garbage. We said that he was protecting glass on that chin of his, and that's exactly what it was. And aside from that, Okoly's not really been in with much else. I think probably Blaise Mendou's is his best, more high-profile opponent after that. Matty Askin, he's been there, seen it, done it. We've seen him. He took a fight with Golovkin back in 2012, relatively short notice, but it was competitive. And obviously he was stopped, but like I said, he was young in his career. And since he's moved to the Jennings gym, it's revitalised his career. He's gone on the road constantly. He's beaten Tommy McCarthy, I rate. He's a decent boxer. He's got skills. He absolutely destroyed Craig Kennedy and destroyed Stevie Simmons as well. And I actually think the way this fight is going to go is similar to the Craig Kennedy one. We've not seen Lawrence Okolie take one on the chin yet. We've seen Matty Askin get hit plenty of times, particularly by Golovkin. And they're really confident for this. I've spoken to Michael Jennings a few times now, and they're really, really confident. They fear nothing. Askin, he's took himself away. He's obviously he lives in Blackpool, trains in Chorley, so he's actually living in a caravan, basically in the middle of nowhere, where he trains 2 to 3 times a day. He's been doing 10 to 12 mile fell runs every day with Michael Jennings, so the shape he's in is excellent. And preparation-wise, he's been sparring Hughie Fury, his chief sparring partner for the Pulev fight, which I think is excellent sparring. A quick heavyweight, someone who can move, pose problems, and he is difficult to cater for because, like I said, he's a big guy as well, and he is tall, he is quite wiry, and I think Askins, they're giving Okolie the respect he deserves, which I think is always a positive. He's not one of these fighters, he's going in thinking, well, I'm the champion, I'm going to absolutely flatten him because I've been there and done it. They respect Okolie's attributes, and I just think that Askins overall, that he's the more the complete fighter, and I think his experience from what he's picked up earlier on, as well as the form he's taken into the fight, will ultimately see him get the win. And I think he'll stop Lawrence Okolie as well in pretty emphatic fashion.
Ozzy, just briefly, you mentioned Luke Watkins there. I know that he's signed to fight Isaac Chamberlain. I was just thinking CompuBox numbers-wise, do you think they might break the double figures around for punches thrown?
Oh, I would hope so. Otherwise, I'm absolutely devastated if it's not. I genuinely do think it will be a decent fight, this. I genuinely do think it'll be a good fight. And like I said, if Okolie beats Askin, then fair play to him. It's a hell of a good win. I think Askin's done everything he can in terms of British level. And I've nothing, like I said, fair play to Okolie if that does happen. But for me, I am siding with Askin in this one.
Fair play, Ozzy. Rob, David Price was supposed to fight Big Sexy over in Belfast. That's been canned. He's going in against another Russian prospect, Sergei Kuzmin. Pricey, I think, might hurt Kuzmin early and then get knocked out in about the 5th round. What do you think?
Could happen, man. He's got glass ears, as David Price. You hit him on the ear, he's done. Go back to that story with the taxi driver. Scouse taxi driver told me one time that David Price was so chinny because he had skinny ankles. And if anyone has skinny ankles, just pull on him and hit him on the jaw, and they're not going to make it. And that seems to be the story of David Price's career, unfortunately for him. And he's at the stage now where he's bordering on journeyman position, and somehow got himself, got hurt in the Povetkin fight again. And you don't like to see fellas get knocked out constantly. I don't know this guy from a can of paint, the fella he's fighting, but you'd imagine if he can punch at all, he has a chance.
The Price story has become a bit of a parody, hasn't it?
Oh, it was terrible, with Frank Maloney and Lennox and Tony Thompson on the gear, and then the other guys on the gear. But it's just tragic. He's gone from being in the public eye to Tyson Fury calling him out, and him and David Bellew at the same time on Channel 5, to being the big white hope of UK heavyweight boxing, and then get stashed a couple of times, and it's just been relentless ever since. And he's just underperformed. He seems nervous in the ring. It feels like it's not really for him. So it'd be an unfortunate end to see him getting knocked out again. But if he did get beat, you'd surely think that this time he would retire.
Are we right in assuming here that that this fight's happening for Kuzmin as a result of his Russian promotional connections and from the same team as Povetkin? Yeah.
I would imagine so, Smido.
So David Price.
Yeah, the thing about Price is, though, Smido, he's like a big dude, and they're like, you're a big fella, go in and be a heavyweight, you know what I mean? You could knock a few people out. He's like a reluctant heavyweight, isn't he?
I mean, it's it's verging on dangerous, to be honest. And I'm just looking at the card, and I know that we moan and it's pay-per-view and that, but we've got Joshua Povetkin, which is obviously we've covered. Then we've got Campbell Mendy asking Curly. We're all quite happy with that, but other than that, there's only this prize fight listed, and then we've got Shakram Gayasov, which I'm assuming is another Russian against the
Loving that
TBA.
pronunciation, Smith.
Yeah, I tried my best there. So, I mean, yeah.
He's an Uzbek, by the way.
Oh, is he good? Well, I mean, he's making his 5th appearance at Wembley Stadium. Fair play to him. But normally we get Eddie will come on and he'll say we'll get Cordina on and we'll get Cheeseman on and we'll be on from 5:30. And we're obviously not getting that this week. I can't say I'm particularly moaning. Because that's some of the fights that we get on there, the likes of Conor Benn and all that shite against, Uruguay.
I'm quite looking forward to the card, Smith. To be honest,
I'm losing myself in the point here, but the top 3 fights are pretty decent, and then obviously Povetkin and the boys have chucked on a couple of their mates later in the card, further down the card, should I say?
Right, we need to get on to the values. Hey, to Dave, anything from the undercard quickly that takes your interest?
No.
Donny, we need to get on to value of the week soon. Anything from the undercard that takes your interest?
No.
Okay, then let's get on to value of the weeks. Quite a packed one this week, guys, so try and stick with us as best as you can. Ethan has been nominated by Billy Boy for saying that Amir Khan would make £20 million fighting against Kell Brook. Wouldn't have thought so, Ethan. Jay King has nominated Mauricio Suleiman. Today's motivation to walk, he has a 50-0 Floyd Mayweather hat on. He's walking the Camino, apparently, Mr. Suleiman. Good luck to him. Greg Cross has nominated Stephen Hickling. Khan will bottle Brook as he knows he will lose. He will also lose to Pac-Man. Even Tony Bellew would beat Amir Khan, to Stephen Hickling. Yeah, I'd probably say that he probably would, to be honest with you, Stephen. He's about 4 stone heavier than him. Right, Simon Alevy gave a nomination to Carl Froch from last week, actually. Posthumous mention for Frochy for losing his scorecard and trying to make it up. I think that was the Wellborn Langford fight. What else have we got here? Joe Selkirk was having a rant. Sean Stevenson nominated him. Boxing does not need any of your blag fan Twitter dickheads, says Joe Selkirk. Not your opinions, not your abuse, not even your money. Don't pay for something you know nothing about. Keep your £20 pay-per-view money, says Joe Selkirk. Go and stuff it. Thanks for that, Joe. Who else? Dominic also nominated that one. I got followed by the British Hair Clinic on Twitter this week. I don't know what they're trying to tell me. But anyway, just thought I'd mention that. Donny has nominated.
It's fucking more chance to follow me than you, mate.
If they want to give me a free hair whack, although looking by some of these Premier League footballers who had hair jobs, frigging hell, I hope they kept the receipt because there's not many good ones going about. Anyway, Donny has nominated Ben Haltham. No, Ben Haltham was actually nominated in the Metro Tipster for talking about the Gary O'Sullivan fight. Yeah, sometimes I screenshot these during the week, and then whenever it comes to Sunday night, I'm clueless because I can't remember the context to some of the tweets. So sorry if I make a botch job of your nomination. Editing King saw him earlier in what?
Something in the picture. It said, "Oh fuck." I'll go back and check, but it was pretty funny.
Thanks, Donny. Editing King has nominated Adrian Broner for terrorising an Uber driver. Hopefully someone terrorises AB soon with a bullet. Maybe Gabe will do the job. Who knows? Pucking Frick was also on that one. Spencer Fearon has been at it again. Wouldn't be the same without Spencer. Philip Walcott nominated him. Spencer Fearon told Amir Khan how it is. The British fight fans will not forget it if you don't face Kell Brook, said Spencer.
Yeah, that was shocking.
Toe for toe. He goes in on these people, doesn't he?
Abysmal. Him and Johnny Nelson this week, the two of them out towing the company line. Oh, Amir's afraid of Kell Brook. He has to fight Kell Brook. Well, that could be scuppered now, seeing as we have this Floyd and Manny thing coming up, but I'm sure we'll get to that.
Oh, no, please, never. I've not got the will to go through that shit again.
Fucking you with me both, dude.
Oh, man. See if that fight gets made, I'm deleting Twitter. I will not be on Twitter again until that fight's over. Done, mate. Fuck that shit.
Well, Steve, the nomination was for the writer. He goes, I expect David Lemieux to stop O'Sullivan this weekend on points.
All right, fair enough. I couldn't quite see from the screenshot, Donny, so thanks for clearing that one up. Yeah, people aren't happy with Spencer Fearon, but Norman Shreve nominated Stephen Papp. Talking a load of Papp, he does like Spencer. Spencer Fearon is quickly becoming my favourite person in boxing, says Stephen Papp. He just says it like it is. Plus, The man talks sense. At Sky Sports Boxing, you need to be getting this man on the TV more, says Stephen Papp.
Yeah, the man who
Yeah.
compared Danny Garcia to Homicide Hank threw
Oh, that was
400 punches around.
That was a bad one, wasn't it, Danny
Yeah,
Garcia?
get more of him, more of that guy. Fucking hell.
The guy is a fucking fraud. I've said this for long enough. Also, he's a closet racist. We all know this, don't we? Everybody knows he's a closet racist. And yeah, I've got tons of his tweets. Or I did have actually until he blocked me, but I've actually got a few of them saved somewhere. Actually, he's some of the shite that he spouts. I mean, talk about the piss that he talks. See if I can just find them and give me a second.
Go on, I've been unblocked by the knowledge, so war knowledge. Callum Neal has nominated IFL TV, or Johnny Nelson rather. This was what you were saying about, speaking to IFL TV, Rob. Povetkin is a harder fight for Anthony Joshua than Wilder, sensationally claims Johnny Nelson. Not that so sensationally. Also, Rob, you nominated Errol Spence. He was absolutely steaming drunk last week. And he was trying to do a bit of addition. What was he saying about if I was born in 1990, then I was, 15 in 2015 or something?
Yeah, he basically made a balls in the mats, and he was trying to so validly make his point to the interviewer. He really thought he was on the button. And the interviewer was looking at him what are you talking about? But don't attribute that one to me, because I don't want to upset Casual Hunter, who thinks I'm predisposed to talk about thugs. But what I would say to him is, he's no Alexander. I'm Alexander. I'm Sonny Liston. I'm Jack Dempsey. There's no man that could defeat me.
You're going to eat his children. Yeah.
Akram.
Go on, Andy.
No, I was just back my buddy Rob up there,
I were just having a go at I don't know who we're having a go at, to be honest. Anyway, Marcus Bellinger has nominated Eddie the Contradiction Hearn. Eddie says pay-per-view boxing will end in tears. Yeah, he's talking about the Frampton Warrington. He's absolutely friggin'. He's brass, man.
Shameless. He's shameless. I tell you what, I wish Eddie Hearn actually wore a halo so I could call him fucking brass neck, by the way, just literally. But he's taking the fucking piss with that comment,
fair play to Eddie. Holly Lewis has also nominated Johnny Nelson on IFL TV. Gary Michael Fortune has nominated James Garrison. I'm not sure who he was talking on about, but he says he was comparing someone to Rocky Marciano. Like I said, Gary, sorry. Sometimes I screenshot them, can't get the whole thing in, can't remember. I think he was on about Deontay Wilder, actually, in relation to Rocky Marciano. DJ Logic has called Tyson Fury the liberal champion. I think he means the lineal champion. Not much liberal about Tyson Fury, I don't think. That is from Sam, our friend, Patreon subscriber. Big Samuel, A-Truck. Where are we? Andy Neal has nominated Oscar De La Hoya for his plans to run for president in 2020. I think Oscar was trolling. I think
he's going to be insufferable the next couple of months, isn't he? Because Canelo won.
You love a bit of Oscar, Dave, don't you?
I'm a big fan of Oscar the fighter, but he is just awful as a promoter and on Twitter. He's never shut up.
Has Oscar been gone under the knife for the face? Has he? Because he's looking very Kendall Jenner-y in the face there lately. I think he looks like he's been getting some.
I see it, Rob. I see a photo of him. I see what you mean. Yeah.
What kind of soft shit?
Sliced off some of the coke fat.
You know what I mean? Is he going to break out a lingerie line or whatever? Because he's looking mad suspect at the moment.
Rob, maybe he's been approached by the British Hair Clinic.
Goldie follicles.
That'll be me in a few years. Shout out to the British Hair Clinic, everybody. Go and get your hair done with them.
Well, I mean, the window company got Floyd, so the British Hair Clinic wants Oscar.
Oh, that would be funny, wouldn't it? Anyway, Sean Stevenson has nominated John Davey. Alexander Usyk, who are you fighting again, Tony Bellew? Best not be this guy. Where are you finding these clowns, Eddie Hearn? Says John Davey. James Farge. James Farge has been talking about Tony Bellew. Tony's impact on the sport will only be realised in his retirement. Never takes a step back. Consistently challenges himself and his public perception and always raises his game. If he wins against Usyk, he will surely go down as one of the greatest. 2-time world champ, unified and undisputed, says James Farge. Also, Gordon Snedden, this is a big shout out. A lot of people sent me this, including Anthony and many others. Gordon Snedden said, don't think Usyk has faced anyone on Tony's level. Big step up for him. Ask David Hay what he's in for. # bronze bomber.
The casuals, I got quoted him saying the casuals casual.
That's a bell. I didn't notice the hashtag at the end, Andy. Why has he put # bronze bomber?
He's obviously got himself mixed up, mate. Unless he's, I don't know, unless he's trying to claim that Tony Bellew's black.
What a legend. Don't think Usyk has faced anyone on Tony's level. He says, big step up for him. Ask David Hay what he's in for.
Tony Bellew ducked an entire division. Usyk just fucking wiped it out, for fuck's sake.
If Tony Bellew was black, Rob Kelly would be like big.
Yeah.
Shout out to the casual hunter. Right, got a few here, boys. Let's get on with it. JG is nominated Winden 2010. Triple G and Hagler is like comparing apples to oranges. Both were great in their own time. B-Hop is just butthurt because Triple G's career surpassed his. What?
Fucking Jesus.
Oh my God,
B-Hop should get a nomination, and this just goes to show that I'm not biased because B-Hop's one of my favourite fighters of all time. But he was up on the podium last night, post press conference, and said, "I'm part of history without having to throw a punch because Gennady Golovkin didn't make it to 21 defenses." So I was just like, holy shit, like, rub it in, why don't you?
He was looking smart last night with his Dickie Bow and his clawhammer suit on, you know.
Oh yeah, man, he was slick as anything, but he's as usual, like he's just a catastrophe in front of the microphone, like. So that's what he started off with. It was like, you know, I've made history. I'm not sour. I've made history, and he goes, he may have made his defenses against Billy Bob and Joe, but it doesn't matter who they were.
He's terrible on commentary, Rob. Have you ever heard him on commentary?
Horrendous.
He is bad. This is a good one. Anthony Fowler got nominated. Can't remember who nominated him, but fair play anyway. Fowler put up a picture. Canelo went to sit down and missed the chair. Classic old prank. And Anthony Fowler tweeted out, "Scary this. Canelo collapsing at the weigh-in. This will be down to severe dehydration. Dangerous going into this fight, especially against Triple G boxing." But I think it was down to the simple fact that Canelo just missed the chair and fell over. But fair play to Anthony Fowler.
I like Ben's tweet about it much better. Chin looks suspect because right before that he taps his chin a little, it just falls over.
Have you ever done that on anyone, Dave? Pulled the chair away when they're about to sit down?
Probably in my wild youth, you know.
You have, Andy?
Oh, fuck, aye, mate, all the time.
To the wife?
Aye. Especially folk at work that are hating that as well, eh? I've actually stuck a couple of tacks and that into folks' chairs and that because I don't really fuck it, man. Just like talk too much and that. Like, you can't get fuck all done. So you start just like sabotaging. I tell you the best bit actually was like I actually fucking stuck sellotape or somebody's bottle of Iron Brew. So we went to go and open it and they fucking couldn't drink it, eh? So she fucking pulled the fucking tab off and just fucking burst her head, eh? Fucking brilliant.
Bank tips from Andy.
I fucking super glued her phone to the fucking desk as well. That was fucking brilliant.
Adam M has nominated Darren Lambert. Darren said, "Who decides who gets to fight on Box Office? Seems a bit much. We have AJ this month and then expected to pay again in November. Love Tony Bellew, but feel he's only in it for the money now and never heard of the other bloke, so it all seems a bit odd." Derry Matthews, this is an absolute cracker. Derry Matthews has called for a statue in Liverpool to be put up of Tony Bellew. "We need a statue of him in the city. What the champ has achieved is something special," says Derry Matthews. Mike Boxing nominated him. What about that then, Rob? A statue for Tony Bellew in Liverpool? Put up a statue as well for Jimmy Corkle and Jackie Dicko while they're at it?
John Conte at the same time.
Reminds me, there's a statue of Lennon there, isn't there, in the airport? And we all went on the stag night. One of the boys got lost the night before. Took a fucking red bus all the way out to John Lennon Airport. So we're all sitting in the airport on the way home, all hung over to fuck date after 2 days on it. Like, and one of the boys is like, "Imagine Podge got on the bus last night and fucking went to John Lennon Airport." And one of the other lads just went, "Imagine all the people."
That's brilliant.
Oh dear. Jack Morgan has nominated Lewis for talking about Canelo Triple G. Sam has nominated Faisal Khan. Not sure about the Manny Pacquiao KO of Ricky Hatton. Would be a contender. Oh, sorry, I've cut that one off. Oh yeah, Anthony Joshua's KOs was nominated. That's what it was, Sam's. Jamel Herring has been nominated. He put up a tweet earlier talking about his friendship with Terence Crawford. Sounds like they're pretty close. "My bro says I'm hard-headed, but he's still willing to ride me till the end. Much love, bud." Not sure what's going on there, Dave. Fair play anyway. Riding him till the end. Jay King has nominated IFL TV. Canelo may have eaten contaminated meat in dinner with Bill Clinton, reveals Mushio Suleiman. What? Hang on a minute. Did I just read that right? Mauricio Suleiman claimed that Canelo ate contaminated meat in dinner with Bill Clinton. I suppose Canelo and Monica Lewinsky eating a bit of contaminated meat.
Pull a hair follicle from her and let's see what the trace amount is.
Monica's been on the roids.
I'll tell you what, I'll no be trace amounts in her fucking blood system, and I can guarantee that.
Oh dear, we're getting worse. We're getting worse.
The maid is pink.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Avada are like, yeah, fucking right.
Sexual relations and cattle.
If our value of the week extended to political figures, Bill would be up for one last week. He was checking out Ariana Grande at
Yes, he was.
Aretha Franklin's funeral.
Bill used to back Jermaine Taylor, and look what happened to him.
Oh.
That's an L. Right, talking of L's, Rob, you're going to have to take one. G-Man has nominated you for your song Canelo Alvarez, apparently. There's no more context to that. You're getting it heavy this week.
Well, yeah. Well, that song was made in 2012 when Canelo was on the rise and he was everything to be admired. He was looking for fights with Victor Ortiz, didn't get it because Lopez broke his jaw. He signed to fight Paul Williams before his accident. He moved up to fight Floyd, or moved down rather to fight Floyd when he was a kind of, still wet behind the ears. Like, so he was to be admired. So, but anyway, shut up. And if you don't like it, just turn it off, like asshole.
Well said, Rob. Shout out to Gabe as well, by the way. He's just noted us that he couldn't come on tonight because he got the shit, so hope you get well soon. Robel Damaster has nominated both the BT commentators for saying that LeBron was sitting next to Andre Ward when he clearly wasn't. John Heaton is also nominating for the HBO commentators, comparing Chocolatito being on the undercard to Britney Spears being a support act for NSYNC. I'm not sure that was HBO. I think that might have been the Golden Boy feed. Anyway, congratulations to them. Luke Hobbs, fair play to Canelo for fighting the fight we wanted. Shame that ginger cabbage water smelling drug cheap prick won though. Oh dear, that's more of a statement than a value of the week. Thanks for that, Luke. Matthew Purchase been nominated by Barn Dog, Rob Barnett. So Canelo won last night. When's the match getting sorted with Martin Murray? Surely he's the next contender. Wouldn't have thought so, Matthew. Wouldn't have thought so. G-Man has nominated somebody else. Oh, yeah, a Spike for talking shit all week and then getting knocked out. What else have we got? Oh, John Swan sent me a message. Sorry, John, I forgot about that. Iron Fisted Champion Adam Booth said, I like John and Barry on BT, but they are having a bad night at the office. It's definitely no Sky Sports production, says Delboy. Sky's Adam Smith and his team are the best. Yeah, all right then. And finally, Martin Hurry. Well, I've got a couple more, sorry. Martin Hurry has nominated Ericsson Lubin. Yes, he's still a thing, apparently. Oh, fuck Mungia up, says Lubin. Yeah, like you were going to fuck Charlo up. Also, Bill has nominated Martin Clothier. Still think Carl Froch would have stopped Triple G. And finally, he says, Pucking Frick has nominated Jim Lampley for getting reduced to tears talking about Matthew fucking Macklin. Jim Lampley loves a bit of a cry, as Dave has pointed out. Wow, that was a heavy, heavy week. Someone's asking me a question. I'll ask you in a minute, Rob. Any nominations, Rob?
I've got one.
Yeah, sorry.
You go first, Andy, then you go, Rob.
I've got one. Kenny Porter. Did anybody see pictures of him last night at the preview for Golovkin Canelo last night? Turned up with his trainer's belt. Remember the belt that was on the line for the Garcia Porter fight last week? Aye, well, the bull Kenny Porter turns up there like Eubank did with his IBO belt and that, parading that about like a fucking trophy. Kenny Porter for me.
That's pretty good. Like, that's pretty good. No, mine was just for Eddie, like, because he gave an interview to Fight Hype where he compared Richard Schaefer to a dog under the table trying to get scraps, something like that, something along those lines. Like, just completely disrespectful, bragging about his TV deal and then making excuses for himself, saying that he's lost some big fighters because he's only 3 months in and all this, but just being a complete and utter hiring on it.
Can I also nominate Hassan 15113 on Twitter for creating a petition to say sign the petition because Triple G won. Yeah, fucking hell.
Bloody stupid petitions.
That's gonna work.
People on Twitter sign it. Maybe it'll change the verdict.
Do you remember after Oscar lost the rematch to Sugar Shane Mosley and he said he was going to try and get the decision reversed? There is precedent for this.
He got robbed, though.
Yeah, I mean, talking to people walking about with belts, Dave, I remember whenever we were over for the Frampton Santa Cruz rematch, I think it was in Vegas, there was this fella walking around with a belt. on it, all happy with himself with his belt over his shoulder. And we're thinking, who is this guy? I don't recognise him. Turned out it was a guy called Demond Brock. And it was like a WBO Intercontinental title or something he was carrying around with him. But then afterwards, I found that he'd been like in prison for about 15 years or something. And boxing had sort of saved him after he came out. So kind of felt bad laughing at him, to be honest. And it haunts me to this day. Anyway, any other nominations, Ozzy? Any from you?
No, not this weekend.
Nothing from Ozzy. Right, few strong front runners, Donny. I'm going to go to you first. I'm liking Canelo may have eaten contaminated meat in dinner with Bill Clinton, according to Mauricio Suleiman. I'm also liking Jamel Herring's offering. My bro said I'm hard-headed, but he's still willing to ride me till the end. Much love, bud. Much love indeed. And also Derry Matthews talking about a statue for Tony Bellew. Anthony Fowler. We've got Gordon Snedden, Donny. Plenty to choose from. Who are you going for?
Well, actually, the hair club was pretty good, but actually, I have to go with actually, what was the first one you said? It was the one that I'd already just. Oh, it was my bro still rides me till the end. Yeah, I like that one. That was
Which one was it, Donny?
the one where
Jamel Herring.
Jamel Herring, yeah.
Yeah, the one where Terence Crawford rides me till the finish.
Okay, one for Jamel Herring. Then what about you?
I know he's way off the mark because Terence is definitely the top.
Would you let Terence Crawford ride you, Dave?
You wouldn't have an option.
Dave, if you could choose a boxer today to ride you, who would you choose?
Well, he's retired. It would be Sergio.
Lomachenko.
Shut that soft ass shit up.
I've interviewed Sergio, and he's every bit as beautiful in real life, Dave, as he is on the camera.
I saw him in real life too at Canastota.
The boys opened it up on this topic. I remember when I first saw him.
He loves me more, Steve.
You never know where this chat's gonna go. There you go. So yes, Sergio Martinez. So who are you going for, Dave? Sorry for Bellew of the week.
It's tough between that twat who said that Bellew is above any, or Usyk's never fought anyone on the level of Bellew, and Derry Matthews, who wants him a statue of Bellew. I think I'm going to go with Matthews just because he's a higher profile name.
Yep, former WBU champion Derry Matthews. One for him, one for Jamel Herring. Andy, who are you going for?
I'll go for the one that's hashtag Bronze Bomber.
That's Gordon Snedden. Don't think Usyk has faced anyone on Tony's level. Big step up for him. Ask David Hay what he's in for. Hashtag Bronze Bomber.
I'm having that one.
I know. I think I'm going to have to go for him as well. Andy Gordon Snedden. That's two for him. Who are you going for, Ozzy?
Probably going to go for Derry Matthews. The fact that he's calling for a statue of Tony Bellew to be erected in Liverpool is nothing short of farcical, really.
It's fantasy, no farcical.
Honestly, I've never met the amount of deluded people than our friends from the Merseyside area.
I don't know. I kind of like it. I think they should get a speaker built into it and it just plays the Bellew of the Week theme tune over and over on a loop. I ain't a man who's dressed at the weight anymore.
By the way, can I say Bellew's going to have to cut £10 nice and easy for this fight, by the way.
I right enough.
Oh, shit, late inclusion, especially for my man on Twitter. The all-time great AB, three-time world champion, is banned from Uber now for clowning a poor Middle Eastern driver.
Oh, yeah, we had that one nominated, Rob. Yeah, we had that one.
Yeah. So AB, but Kenny Porter's going to be hard to beat for me, like with his belt at the Golovkin weight. Yeah,
I'll post that up for his actually. It's fucking tremendous. I've still got it.
Yeah, someone in the chat, Dave Tricks, is mentioning Scott Harrison making a comeback. I think he's signed up with the old Bieber. He must be about 40 odd now, Andy, briefly.
Scott Harrison signed with the BIBA. He's committed prisoner, claiming he's like doing the paint and stuff and all that. So best of luck to the guy.
Did Rob just vote for AB because he's a black thug?
Yeah, absolutely, 1,000,000%. That's my man AB. Can never forget my man AB about them billions. You know what I mean? Playing his mixtape right now.
Right, I think Gordon Snedden's won then. Congratulations to him. We'll put that up. Really strong week. Enjoyed that one this week. Some real solid ones. Yep, thanks to everybody who's been on the call. We're going to end it there, I think. Rapping Rob Kelly was with us, Ozzy Smith, Andy Patterson, Donny Baseball, Dave the Hater Lowback. Smido was on with us as well. No Gabe this week. We did have Hamed coming on. Next week's the big Joshua Povetkin. Will be reviewing that in next Sunday evening around 8 o'clock and previewing, I was going to say, Smith Groves, which is the following Friday night. So there's plenty going on over the next few weeks. Get your questions in. Come on and join us if you want to. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Really vibrant chat tonight. I've been Steve Wellings. We shall speak to you all next week. Bye.